1989, when the Berlin Wall fell, we pretended to be there. In 1963, when Martin Luther King Jr. marched for freedom, we pretended to be there. Throughout history, in good times and bad, times of turmoil and strife, joy and victory, we have always pretended to be by your side. Social Distancing Variety Hour. Pretending to be there for you. Paid for by friends of Social Distancing Variety Hour.
Social Distancing Variety Hour.
Pretending to be there for you. But now, we actually are here for you.
Turn
Technicolor and audio combined.
Turn Facebook off over there. Hi, we're back. Shout out to Brian Slowan for tipping us off about our technical difficulties, but I turned it all off and turned it all back on again, and now I think it works. And y'all missed it. We talked a lot of really cool stuff about art. Do we want to talk about art again?
I guess we'll give you a quick recap.
Art's cool.
Gallery night is back.
Yes.
Gallery night is back. It was fabulous. It was wonderful. It was stupendous. I got to use my vaccine card for the first time to gain entry into an event. And
I finally
did not feel as though my rights were violated in the slightest. It was a wonderful event.
I have finally started carrying mine with me because mine lived on my fridge for months and months. And then I got ready to go on tour. We've been away. For those of you who are often with us, we appreciate you coming back.
I was on tour.
I was on tour for 10 days, and then I had a birthday and did a birthday show here in Erie, which conflicted with our usual Sunday night social engagements.
Indeed.
Well, now we're back. But yeah, I have it right here. Don't steal my information.
No,
it's all washed out anyway. But yeah, a couple of the venues that we played on tour, and we'll talk more about tour later because I got some video to play and stuff. But yeah, a couple of the venues were supposedly requiring proof of vaccination for entry. Among those venues, some of them did, in fact, require proof of vaccination for entry. So shout out to the Orbit Room in Bloomington, Indiana, for actually requiring proof of vaccination for entry.
Out of way, Orbit Room.
And shout out to Healer in Indianapolis for actually requiring proof of vaccination for entry. And there were also at least one venue that supposedly required proof of vaccination for entry. However, did not give a shit. And I'm not in the mood to call them out right now because I don't know. It's still a place that I like, even though it did slightly
half-ass the whole
slightly alter my positive opinion of them. But yeah, still I'm not gonna call them out just yet. But get at me in the comments and I'll tell you who that was. But yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to see your face and hear your lovely voice again.
Indeed. Gallery night was a wonderful, wonderful success, a wonderful evening. It was nice to have it back and be out and about and see wonderful art. Like we were saying, my daughter sold like a bunch of pieces that she had up at PACA. And the next afternoon at Art Lore, there was the Monsters, Myths, and Folklore.
Oh, yeah. I heard good things, about that show.
Art Lore, and she has a couple of new pieces hanging out there and sold a couple there. So it was a wonderful weekend. I'm very, Very proud, Papa. Very
Yeah,
proud.
and like
Very
it's
proud.
really cool. I was talking about this even when I wasn't talking to you, because we talk about how Lola's a cool kid even when we're not directly talking to you. But
Yeah.
I think it's really cool and very impressive as a young artist to be able to be like, anime dragons are my usual thing, but for this I'm gonna consciously study the style of Southern folk artists of a certain age,
Yeah.
and just just pull off that style because that's what this gig needs, and like that's an impressive thing. That's an impressive thing for an adult artist, and particularly for a young artist to be like, all right, I'm gonna study up on this style that's unfamiliar and a little
Outside of
weird,
my comfort zone.
outside of my
Completely
comfort
outside.
zone, and just come to terms with it and understand it and be able to pull it off. So
Yeah, she studied up. She studied up in the guy. Mark Tannenbaum got her a book from the library, like a coffee table book with all sorts of art, all sorts of hundreds of pages of his art and descriptions of his style and his life and stuff like that. And she really dove headfirst into it and submersed herself in his style and kind of learned his style and made it her own. And it really turned out wonderful. And then she turned around and did a couple of pieces for did like a jackalope,
oh,
like
nice.
her style, nice pen and ink and
Yeah.
watercolors and gouache and stuff like that. I was really very impressed, and I was, I don't mean to keep gushing about my own kids, but
You're allowed to gush about your own kids. This
yeah,
is
yeah, she really knocked it out of the park, and I was really impressed.
absolutely.
It's at such a young age, she's really kicking ass, and I couldn't be more proud. And it
As
was really
as
kind of
well you
cool to
should.
go out gallery night, with your daughter and be like,
Yeah, I'm with the artist.
well, so. And I was the other thing was I was talking with Chris Risto at the Erie Art Museum.
Oh,
Chris Risto of the Northwest Pennsylvania Artists Alliance, the
yes.
NPA.
Of
I
Chris
think that's
Risto
what
of
the
Chris Risto
NPA
fame.
stands for. Say what?
Chris Risto of Chris Risto fame.
Exactly,
Yeah.
painter, artist, in his own right, wonderful, wonderful artist. And he was, we were both kind of talking about how it's really very cool to be out supporting the next generation, supporting your kids and their compatriots, this next generation of artists and musicians and stuff like that are all coming up. We used to be the kids on the new kids on the block that
Yeah.
were like, we're gonna make our own art scene and we're gonna do cool shit and put
We're
together
gonna
really
show
cool
them.
shows and we're gonna change the world. And now our kids are doing the same thing. So it's very nice. It was a very nice evening at the gallery night, and it was great to see you as well at the City
Yeah.
Gallery.
Yeah. I was saying when the people couldn't hear us. We've talked about Noodlefish and about City Gallery before on the show. We had Margot from Noodlefish and Steve from City Gallery on and talked about what my involvement in that project was going to be and all that. I had been there for the grand opening weekend
Yes.
and babysat my creations and made sure that everything was working, and then I kind of went on with my life, and I think I've only briefly one other time poked my head back in there, but it was nice to come back and see that everything was still alive and still kicking, and some minor evolutions and minor modifications just to suit the space and stuff, but yeah, it was a real fun project to be involved in, and this I believe is the last week for official Noodlefish as Noodlefish.
Yes.
The City
Yes.
Gallery space is still going to be there, but
everyone will kind of be like transitioning to their holiday show and PACA's holiday play series. They got one. I think they have one play running through beginning of November, from end of October through mid-November, I think, and then there's another one that comes up for the holidays after Thanksgiving. So yeah, that region of the downtown cultural hub was
yeah.
hopping
Oh, absolutely. And
this
one
weekend.
of the things that I'm very excited about, even after Noodlefish goes away, is the what they've been calling the Noodlefish Lounge, the back room at City
Oh
Gallery.
yeah.
We've got Dastardly.
Yeah, that's gonna be, and like we were saying, like we've been saying for a while, especially during the before times, as we moved through the lockdown, post lockdown phase, is that Erie's lost a lot of venues.
Oh yeah.
There's not a lot of venues where music is played. So the fact that there'll be another music venue, coming online in the close to near future is really exciting, and it's a really cool space, and it's
yeah, it reminds me of the weird industrial spaces that I used to go to shows at during college and places that I played, because there's lots of, it's been arted up, but it's still a very, very raw space, and bare stone walls, and bare concrete floor, and so there's still it's a very, very unfinished space in a way that sort of warms my punk rock heart. And I hope they keep that. I hope they don't lose that. Because I was saying to Steve the other night, no, keep it grungy, keep it a little bit scuzzy.
Stone
back
wall,
here.
Man, that stone wall is cool.
Oh, it's
looks like there's gonna be a balcony of sorts at some sort of top there.
Yeah. Steve's got very bad ideas for what that should be called, but we won't get into that right now. But we got a program tonight. Friend of the program, returning champion, Jay Breneman, is going to be with us. Jay has been all up in my DMs for weeks, saying that he wanted to come back on the show, and had some issues of the day that he wanted to.
Lo and behold,
that he wanted to get into and wanted to discuss with us about some of the. I'm keeping this intentionally vague, and I don't know why, just for fun. But some of the people and characters and goings on in the local political scene. So
it's so mysterious.
Always
say it, Adam.
Always
We're
exciting.
We're going to be talking about the county executive race.
We are going to be talking about the county executive race, among other races, because I want to hear what I always like hearing what Jay thinks about things.
He's got a good his finger on the pulse.
He does. He has got his finger on the pulse of a number of things, and like.
County politics.
A number of times over the past year or so, when a new political name has entered my awareness, one of the first things I do is send a message to Jay and be like, "So, what do we think of this person? What do we think of the people running in this race?" And he's always got very, very well put together, well thought out.
Patient and astute.
Not always entirely suitable for primetime discussion takes on most of the people and issues and things involved in the local scene. So, very excited to have Jay back with us. One of my favorite
excited.
One of my favorite guests that we've ever had on the show. So very excited to have Jay back with us and see what we get into. Diggett says definitely keeping the stone wall. Yeah. Well, I mean, the building would literally fall down without it. So, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of choice in the matter. But yeah, don't put a bunch of shit over it. Like, leave it looking like that. That's cool. Yeah, let's. I mean, we've already lost enough time with my shenanigans over here. Having to turn the thing off and turn the thing back on. So let's get into some music, and then let's get Jay in with us. As I said, I was off on the road for about a week and a half with my dear friend Michael Anderson, who is Drekka. We did, I think, 9 shows in 10 days. I took a bunch of video at the shows that we played together, so I put together a little montage, a little 5 or 6 minutes of some of the places we went, some of the people that we played with, some new friends, some old friends, some shots from the road. So, yeah, enjoy what I did on my summer vacation, and then we will be back with Jay Breneman in a few minutes. Social Distancing Variety Hour. Eerie. Oh, shit. That was not what I was trying to do. Social distancing variety hour.
Social distancing variety hour.
I pushed the wrong button. I am having a time tonight.
It's all that time off. It's all that time off. You're rusty.
Yeah, so I am rusty. Welcome to the show, Erie Working Man.
Working Man Mountain.
Live and direct from Working Man Mountain, Erie Working Man. Jay Breneman.
The Working Man Tower.
The real one. And I might be at the same elevation, if not higher, than the other so-called working man. So
yes.
So
the only working man, Erie's working man.
Yeah.
Jay
Thanks
Breneman.
for having working
on a
man
Sunday
on your
night.
show.
I always love having a working man on my show. I'm surprised. I'm surprised you can stay up this late because conversations with other Erie working men I've had. It's been like, our days start pretty early here on Working Man Mountain. We're out in the Working Man trenches at 4. So I don't know.
4:03. You got to take that picture of your watch.
4:03. Yeah. So I don't know if I can be up at 10:30 on a Sunday night. So I appreciate you taking one for the team and staying up past your bedtime to talk about life on Working Man Mountain.
In all actuality, this is my normal work at this. I'm grading papers right now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
so it works out quite well. Those of us who really do work,
So should we like round table some of these papers and we can shame your students?
Might as well.
Yeah. Okay. What do we got?
Yeah. No, this is I teach two courses of macro social work, community practice for graduate students. And so they have to do a community assessment, which means they have to identify what's going right, what are some challenges with a community, be it a community of place, like Erie, so to speak, or a community of identity, which could be anything, like veterans, right? And so it's always interesting seeing what graduate level social work students put together whenever they consider a holistic perspective on a community. So it's worthwhile.
So what's been the most interesting take on something that somebody is identifying as a community? Like, have there been any surprises that's like, oh, I never thought about, people who watch Nightline as a community?
I would identify with that community. I miss it, right? But no, it's really, they're all over the place, really, with different communities that they chose. So some of the more interesting ones, I think. So we do teach critical race theory in my class, just introductory level.
Oh, hang on.
Oh my gosh!
Watch out!
Watch out!
Whoa! It's in the curriculum.
No,
I also we have.
Are you even allowed to say that? That's my wife wants to know.
She's
sitting right here. She's like, is he even allowed to say that? I'm going to bring
critical race theory to the schools too. I damn well if I can. But yes, it's interesting because students come from all walks of life, all over the place, and to have a frank conversation with them about not just theories of oppression, but the manifestation of oppression in their everyday life, and then. For some, it's not so shocking. For others, you might say, "Oh, redlining," and people are like, "Oh, yeah," but it's much more insidious than that, and more entrenched and still ongoing and present well before that. And so, it's interesting that when we have these discussions with the students first, and then they go and do these community assessments with one guy is really interesting. He's in the middle of nowhere in Maine, right? So, and that's just interesting. There's, students that are from rural places, students that are from, very dense urban areas all across. And so, I guess one student brought in information about studied the availability of burial practices for Muslim Americans in and around Cincinnati. And that it's not as easy in America in 2020. It's not so easy if you want to bury somebody if you're Muslim. And on top of it, and then there's another student from her family's originally from Iran. She was born in Iran, came. And so just a real interesting deep dive on the diaspora of Iranian culture around the world. So a lot of real interesting perspectives from students. One student who's from China originally, and talking about some things that are similar. But one thing that was kind of shocked the rest of the class was when they were like, he was like, he didn't understand the concept of private school and public school, private college and public college. He didn't understand because everything's all public. All the universities are public.
Right.
And so and so the students
the idea of a private school.
China's got it better with what's going on.
Yeah.
We've already hit critical race theory. We've already hit China's doing it better.
Communist bingo.
They do have issues. They do have issues. But that is
what is the center square? What is the center square on our communist bingo card?
We got some problems, people. We got some problems.
So, Mr. Skindell, go ahead.
I was going to say, so we've come to the critical few weeks prior to the municipal elections in an off year, which typically have relatively low voter turnout. There's no governor race. There's no senator race statewide. There's no presidential race, but there are the all-important municipal races that we always say all elections are local. And here we are at a almost exclusively local election that we have coming up with some very important races for the future of our county. And you especially there, Mr. Erie Working Man on Working Man Mountain, have been putting in some extra work towards these upcoming elections, and there are two really big races. The one being county executive between Dr. Titus and Bretton Davis, and the other between for sheriff between Campanelli and our good friend here, Mr. Shank.
Oh, you have that.
I got one too.
It's sitting. Oh, yeah. It's sitting in my mail pile, and I meant to bring it down so I could read it on this show. Do you want to read it to us, Mr. Skindell?
Hold on, let me get my readers out.
Yeah, get your readers out.
But yes, my lovely wife brought it. I forgot it in the kitchen. And I was also surprised that it was a mailer from Everytown for Gun Safety, the Victory Fund from Everytown for Gun Safety. It says Sheriff candidate Brian Shank abused his power, assaulted women, and put Erie County families at risk. He has a disgusting history of misconduct as a law enforcement officer and has put our safety at risk. Shank committed sexual assault while on the job. He sexually assaulted the women that he was hired to protect, and investigators even determined that he had unprofessional relationships. Shank admitted to the sexual assaulting the women that he was hired to protect. Shank broke the law in Erie County, illegally carrying a weapon, putting our families and communities at risk. He even opposed common sense gun safety laws like background checks on all gun sales. And on the back, they have the quote here of when he admitted, local county council member and candidate for sheriff Brian Shank has admitted to the allegations lodged against him when he settled in court for the horrible and heinous assaults on women who were in his purview as a correctional facility.
You know, for as horrible and awful as he is, at least he's not lying about it.
Which we cannot say for the county executive candidate.
The low thresholds we set for ourselves.
The Republican Party has really set a low bar with the two most important elections this year.
And
they've put up two of the least ethical, least what's the word I'm looking for? Least in integrity, and just
you name it. Pick a value.
Yeah.
Oh, Jonathan Burdick in the comments. Jonathan Burdick in the comments with a link to the Brian Shank SCI Cambridge case. Thanks, Jonathan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for the sourcing.
That's so great. I mean, that's what's great about it. A lot of this stuff is it's not, and one of the things that I've experienced in previous elections have always been around like the whisper network, right? People know these things, they exist, and then people are frustrated. They're like, the people that like there's things that is like kind of there's like dirty ads, right? There's like, oh, Dr. Titus is going to lawlessness around Erie County or something like it, something like stupid stuff like that, or like attacking them for their family financials or whatever. It's
right.
like that's like real low blow. And then you want to talk about somebody's past, let's talk about your past, right? Let's talk about all your past, right? But at the same time, it's like, there's that kind of politicking, which I agree should, you should, use caution when attacking somebody for that kind of stuff, right? But when it comes down to their own words, their own actions, their own admittance of guilt, etc., when it comes to those things, and you can, like Jonathan did, say, here's a link to go see this. If that is there, then there should be no question around the validity of that, right? So, take
unfit to serve. I mean,
take the sheriff's
like
race.
That should disqualify you from
automatically. He shouldn't be in public office at all. He shouldn't be, especially in county council.
The fact that there is a constituency in this county that elected him in a primary, is mind-boggling.
Yeah, that's the other thing. But it does come down to like it isn't so much. It isn't just the risk that our county runs with him him wanting to be sheriff, wanting to play sheriff. Really, it isn't that the cosplay of sheriff. It's just the fact that he's on the legislative body for Erie County, which is responsible for the health, wellness, and safety of hundreds of thousands, and that is a huge risk that he is, every single day is that one open risk. Now, it's a big deal when somebody like Everytown comes in and invests on a race this size. They normally don't. And that's big. And I know that most people in party politics, et cetera, did not see that coming. Like that just came like, whoa, holy cow. Like where that comes from.
I got this in the mail and was like, whoa.
And
holy cow, Campanelli's really, this is not Campanelli.
It's huge because, in Pennsylvania, it is the sheriff's office that handles all of the registrations for, private handguns, et cetera. And so, and here's somebody who can't even, how do you expect him to carry those out if he's not doing it himself, if he's violating the law on that? But plus, there are people under his charge, not just women officers, but also inmate, people that are adjudicated. These are human beings. These are people, regardless of where they are in life, guilty, not guilty, going through the adjudication process, doesn't matter. Wholly unfit to be in that service. And I honestly, I'll give you I think he's a terrible person, and I don't value anything he has to say on anything. He plays like that. I mean, you want to talk about identity politics? Let's talk about identity politics. I want to talk about identity politics because there are two candidates that have are the quintessential, the stereo. If you were to open up a dictionary for identity politics, you're going to see two candidates in there. You're going to see Brian Shank. You're going to see Brenton Davis, because they wear this and they sell this identity of the veteran, the military. I had some veteran stuff, but it was mostly biographical and stuff. These guys put it on everything.
Right.
They have all these flags all over everything. They got fake Trump on his trailer. He has those light bars on his truck. Like, why would you spend that much? That stuff's not cheap. He drives a car that he fixed up. He spent so much money to make it look like a cop car. That's how much he's bought into this cosplay, this identity of this military police guy. And he's in all these, stupid rallies and stuff. He's selling that. He's selling that identity, and he's embodying it. And
they like to embrace identity politics and weaponize it when a candidate is fighting for marginalized populations, and they weaponize that as some sort of negative. But yet they turn around and they play the most deepest, darkest identity politics. When they're playing identity politics, it's just being a patriot and, saluting the flag and standing for the anthem and, all the nonsense buzzword right-wing gobbledygook.
Yeah. They're not born to do that. That's the big thing too. It isn't that they're not just being their authentic selves. They're just being assholes.
It is the brand that is being put forth, and they embody, both of them embody that brand.
And while at the same time doing the most anti-American, anti-democracy, anti
run a list.
Yeah, anti-civil rights, anti-voting, anti-immigrant, all of the things that the country was built on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
they want it white male supremacy, white conservative male supremacy. That is what they want. Everything they say and do
to forward this machismo, freaking tough guy, freaking Rambo, horse shit,
so fake.
Fucking persona, and it's so fucking fake. Nonsense. And and these guys run around like like you said, cosplay. That's the perfect term for it, Jay.
Well, I'll give you a better one. It's a caricature of the image that they want to have. Right.
Exactly.
This identity that they're trying to sell. It's a caricature of that because they're so half-assed at even doing that.
And by God, powerful. If they have to destroy all of the guardrails and norms of democracy to do it, then that's what we'll do. And
that's what people have to understand
now.
They have to understand. People have to understand that no more can you just think, oh, my neighbor, relative, somebody, oh, they're nice people, right? When they vote and support and consistently back or run for office with these kinds of ideals, they are causing harm and wanting to do further harm to other people. That is, there isn't like, oh, I'm not going to play nice to a bigot. I'm not going to play nice to a bully. I'm not going to play nice to somebody who assaults women. I'm not going to play nice to these people because why they don't deserve it.
Well, that seems very intolerant. It's very intolerant of you, Jay. The intolerant left, not embracing all world viewpoints.
Exactly, and that's why. And I'm no longer being intolerant either, Jay, of this nonsense white supremacist freaking junta that is going on with the Republican Party and candidates like Brian fucking Shank is a disgrace, and freaking Working Man Mountain and the Working Man Erie's Breton Davis is basically a fucking troll. He's a troll that got so popular in troll world that the trolls all decided, hey, this guy would be a great representative for us, the troll community of the fucking darkest cesspools of the internet. And, and this is where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did take a lot of his extra time to do that stuff, right? I mean, that's the thing, right? So my gosh, let's shift gears and talk about that. Let me kind of like jump the gun a little bit on this to talk. Let's jump the AR-15 on this, fellas. So the funny thing is, it's like if you built this whole identity around this racist trope of classist trope of Erie working man, maybe you should like renew your domain registration or not change your Facebook page name or any of that stuff, because somebody like me who's 23 years now of internet experience, even when I was back in the woods of Montana, dial-up internet, it takes 2 seconds now to go register a domain. And it's funny now because like I've just been playing this by ear. I told people, women who he has harassed and assaulted have come up to me over the years from 2016 and onward. And I made a commitment to them then and ever since that if he was to ever run for office again, and particularly if he ever secured a nomination, that I would make sure that people get to see who he really is as a person, and not just, to be able to, and because it's another affront and it's another assault on these people that he's hurt over time. And so, to look at that, and this is like, I always knew he was a bullshitter, but I didn't realize how full of shit he really was on his military, background. I served in the military from 2002 to 2009 in the Army, active duty the whole time. Ran veterans program at 2 area universities. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of discharge papers. I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of veterans of all eras in and around Erie and elsewhere. And, I've heard bullshit. I don't hear bullshit from vets that often. But his was like, I always knew his was a stretch, but why would I think he would lie about some stuff? But then the more I looked into it, I was like, wow, he is a pathological liar. Like, I really think he should go to the VA and he needs to go and find a counselor and seek help. I think Breton Davis, if you're listening to this, or anybody of your supporters, I'm saying this as terrible as a fucking human being as you are. And I think you're really disgusting and you need to leave public life altogether and maybe leave town. I really think, I'm talking to you, Brenton, you need help. You need to go get counseling. I know we like to make fun of people that are sociopathic or have narcissistic disorder or pathological lie, but those are mental health conditions. And it would be unfair to say that, that's just who you are. I mean, you need to go get help. You need to go get a counselor. You have a lot of work to do. And perhaps you could, I don't know too much about the therapies around that, but you need it, man. You fucking need it. And and this is what comes down to, like, why would you lie about having been mentored by a dead war hero? Why would you lie about rescuing a fighter pilot in Iraq? Yeah, we haven't talked about that yet. Why would you lie about your combat experience anywhere? I would never mention Afghanistan in the same breath. I spent over 2 years in Iraq on the ground. I would never mention Afghanistan as if like, oh, I'm part of this greater war effort. Those are two very distinct wars. And
two separate theaters.
Two separate theaters too. And never would I extend it, just be like, you know, never would I extend it to say, oh, I was in the area. Because it's just, I don't know if that's unwritten. I don't know if that's unwritten rule.
That's like being stationed in Germany during Vietnam and be like, well,
you know,
got back from Nam.
When I was in Nam.
Most people, like, that's a big no. But there's a couple people out there that do it. You know, but it's, again, you shouldn't fucking do that. I don't know if he's ever, he's pretty fit. He goes to the gym all the time. You know, the lions do that, right? They're the only lions in the jungle. They got to do wolf things, right?
When you're the only lion in the gym.
Lions got to do lion shit.
Yeah, it's good for him. He's strong. He works out. That's probably why somebody hasn't decked him in the fucking face for lying about his military experience. That's probably it.
Yeah,
because he's so many lies. I couldn't even tell you. I've got pages of lies of his from his military service. He's got a problem.
And the whole stolen valor aspect, he's built this whole identity as fucking, I'm a Rambo and I'm a business owner and, you know, I'm some sort of, he's aligned himself with all these, you know, the right wing heroes, and the whole bullshit spewer that he laid down about, you know, being trained by whatever Mad Max, the freaking.
He changed that story 3 different times.
Not only did he change the story 3 different times, it's this evolving story of his training in the SEALs, and none of that shit ever happened at all.
Yeah, it's funny because like there are Navy SEALs that are dedicated to stopping stolen valor, and you can call them up, and they'll. And you know what the thing about Special Forces community is that there's very few of them, and it isn't like, you know, you can, and I've only reached out some of them by email, and a friend who's done this by phone has been adamant, reaching out to people up, down, all over the place, and, you know, talking with them, and they take this shit seriously because, you know, the chances of meeting a Navy SEAL is like 1 in 3 million. There's so few,
right?
And that's why you don't lie about this shit. And there's plenty of records. There was a guy just a few weeks ago who set fire to like a ship and cost tens of millions of dollars of damage. He went to like the BUDS. He went to the underwater, you know, basic underwater
demolition training.
That's like the first test before you could go on to maybe possibly become a Navy SEAL. And it turns out like he went to do that and he dropped out, and what happens is if you fail that school, you're what's called needs of the Navy. They send you wherever the hell they want you. Japan, right? They send you wherever the hell, you don't have a choice in this matter. And so what happens is they know that they have a huge problem. They even admitted it in this article, and they've said it before, many years before. The Navy knows they have a problem with people who go through that first attempt to become a Navy SEAL, who fail out, that if they don't admit to the failure, then they end up having personal problems, and it becomes demonstrated in their service, their life thereafter. Because it's a big deal that you made it there. That is huge. Congratulations, right?
Yeah.
75% of people don't make it through that part. That's cool. Don't fucking lie to yourself. Because he's lying to himself, he's lying to everybody else, and then building on lies on top of that, on top of that, on top of that.
Just continuing to tell this grand story.
And to me, that says you're unfit for anything. If you're lying about, it isn't like, oh, this isn't like, he's not in a bar telling
this
words.
This isn't like I scored 4 touchdowns for Polk High and when I was in high school type of exaggeration.
Yeah, I could have made the NFL if I hadn't thrown my shoulder out.
I hadn't busted up my knee.
I gotta tell you, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe we should vote for him, because then he'd go around lying to everybody about how great of a job he's doing as county executive and how wonderful and awesome county government's doing under his leadership, when he's not doing a fucking thing. And he'll make up some stories about how the president came down and he worked with the president firsthand and, you know, did all this other shit. So if you want some cool stories, maybe that's the way to go. All you want is bullshit stories.
Well, you know, if God forbid we get Brian Shank as sheriff,
we're not going to get either of them. I'll wager money on that right now. Go ahead.
If God forbid we get Brian Shank as sheriff, that at least means we get Brian Shank off of county council. If God forbid we get Erie working man Brenton Davis as county executive, I mean, I guess somebody's got to cover his shift on Working Man Mountain, but like there is no silver lining to that.
He'll destroy the county. He's already said all of the major services that the county provides. He's already on record as saying he wants to defund them. He's already on record saying that he wants to cut them. Trim the fat and all this other nonsense. So I mean, it's just it would be an absolute disaster.
Isn't that funny how his main excuse for his beliefs and everything is like, just because I believe in those things, those aren't local issues, so I can't do that as county executive. Like with immigration and all this other stuff, it's like, holy fuck. I mean, that's how you think outside of, I mean, you do, in that role, you're responsible for the health and wellness of refugees, new Americans, immigrants, people, the most vulnerable of society, etc. And the fact that you espouse these beliefs, these violent, oppressive, bigoted, racist beliefs, is a big deal. And I think voters need to understand that. Now, I'm going to give, I think there's two things there. I'm going to tell you that I think Shank is going to tank. I just came up with that.
Ooh.
I think Shank is going to tank big time. I think Campanelli is going to blow him out of the water.
And Chris Campanelli, I've met Chris Campanelli. I've had beers with Chris Campanelli.
No, I haven't. Good for you. That's cool.
Lovely guy.
Is he a good guy? Because I
lovely guy, Chris Campanelli. I mean, yeah, they were. It was at a campaign event. It was at Lavery, so yeah, they were. But yeah, lovely guy. I mean, at the end of the day, anybody that we're going to elect as sheriff is a cop, and I will let you all fill in the rest of what comes after what we think of cops. But so it's like, is anybody who's going to be sheriff going to be somebody that is going to be like my new best friend? Probably not. But sheriff to me is a like somewhat of a lesser of two evils things type of thing, and there is a very clear lesser of two evils in this situation. And I'm not even saying Chris Campanelli is evil, because, hi, Chris, I like you just fine.
I think he brings a level of competence to the position, and a level of lawfulness, and not, in that sense that not a convicted
he has something that
here Shank does not.
He has something that Shank doesn't have. He has self-awareness.
Yes.
I've heard him speak in that. I've heard him speak, and I believe him. And for somebody who's been in politics, that's a lot for me to believe somebody, right?
Right.
I believe him when he has said that he wants to address systemic racism, his own words out of his mouth, within the department, and that he would do more to do. I took him at his word of that. It may not be what I would do, or you would do.
Right. And he may not
address it. We would like to see it taken.
Right.
Yeah.
But
and it didn't come off as like a cheap, political stump speech. Like, it seemed genuine, and I would hold him to that.
Yeah.
And I think he's reliable in that, and that he has self-awareness, right? He doesn't wear that fake identity, etc., that provide, all that bullshit that these other guys have. They're a real and present danger. And while, there's systems, right? We can't change the fact that the systems of the sheriff's office is so ingrained and developed the way it is over decades, right?
Right.
Since the 1600s in Pennsylvania. We can't change the nature and history of that overnight, and the people who have spent their lives working there, right? But I can't see a better person out of the department or from outside serving in that role other than Chris Campanelli. And I think that's, And I think he's gonna blow Schenck out of the water. I think a lot of people see that, and part of it is because Schenck is, apart from being an abuser, he hangs out driving his fake cop car at Burger King and other places around the county, just sitting there on his ass, and he's not out there campaigning or making a meaningful appeal. And Campanelli and his campaign are, they're talking with voters, and they're reaching out, and they're finding meaningful conversations, and that's a big difference. And I think that's what you see at the county executive level, and I think that's the difference. And I will tell you that I wholeheartedly believe, and I've been saying this since March, maybe February, that I do believe that Tyler is going to win, and I believe that Dr. Titus is going to win by a larger margin than Dahlkemper had in at least her last election, maybe the one before. I have said that for months, and I will hold by it, and I will gladly buy every viewer who's watching this show live right now.
I'll get you a count.
I'll buy you all around. I'll buy y'all, and even the ones who are watching this after the fact recorded, I'll buy you all around at Lavery's if I'm wrong, which I guarantee I'm not. I swear that Dr. Titus, when I see Tyler like in the debates, like, and I want to tell y'all something. I really think this last debate was the pivot in this. I really think the end of September was, but this last debate, I think, was where Dr. Titus has shown that they are the leader of the moment, and that they have the skill sets and the temperament, et cetera, and the experience to be there. And perhaps one of the most experienced candidates we've ever had for this office. And I will argue that with anybody. And I'll go through all the previous candidates and office holders for this, that I do believe that Dr. Titus is one of the most experienced candidates that we've had. At the same time, I think Tyler has demonstrated in this last debate that they are right for this moment. And at the same time, that with the lies catching up to Davis, that I believe his campaign's fallen apart. And I really believe that his poor performance at the debate and everything since then is indicative of somebody who's afraid of what's coming out, afraid of what's about to come out, afraid that more people are hearing about it and seeing who he is, that, he hasn't done a good job of hiding, and that he was always proud about. And, you can't just have Phil English come in, 4, 5, 6 weeks before the end, former Congressman English, whatever the fuck his name is. He seemed like a nice guy. I met him a couple times, but
Phil English.
Yeah. Okay.
The House Ways Means.
You can't have Phil English come in the last like 4 to 6 weeks of a campaign and try to clean you up. And, when you've been doing some crazy shit for years. Right now, I've heard that they're out there taking his angry salute dictator billboards, and they're replacing them with like the office picture of him,
the working man hat, hard hat picture.
Well, no,
hard hat picture.
And so
really,
yeah, and so like they're trying to change his identity, right? They're trying to change his identity,
just like he flip-flopped on the community college when he was the most virulent anti-community college. Now he's like, oh, community college. Ooh.
It's too late. Just like how they just changed all their domain and everything away from Erie Working Man in the past and just enabled me to go to. He'll never be Erie Working Man again. Ever. I swear to God. Not only is he going to lose this race, he will never be Erie Working Man. Brenton, I'm Erie Working Man. You'll never fucking have that back. I swear to God. Ever.
Link is in the comments. Go to erieworkingman.com.
Exactly.
We'll read some selections. We'll read some selections.
Newspapers. That domain is everywhere. It's been everywhere since 2016, right? So that domain is all over social media. All this Working Man. I now have facebook.com/Erie Working Man. You go to that. That's been saturated all over that too. Just let that go as like, as a dumbass, you created it to begin with, which is pretty fucking stupid. And then let it all go. Now because I control those things, that means all of that work that's been done over years, saturated out there. When somebody searches that identity, when you Google it, when you do a Facebook search, this shit's coming up, and it's going to hit all of your things you have said, Britton. Everything you have said is going to come up in these search results, and it's not going to be from your friendly, Davis for Erie websites. It's going to come from the real Erie Working Man, who is letting people see who you really are. And I've heard from people who have said that, and this is what's crazy, is like when you go to these Facebook pages, et cetera, you may not see just how far the reach is, right? So you see like 10 likes, 50 likes, 80 likes, whatever. If I make a really good meme or if somebody sends something to me that's really fucking hilarious and I post it, right? So, you know, those things have like, oh, 5 shares, whatever. So there is the page, which is facebook.com/Erie Working Man, which he gave up. Now I have. There's the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/group/Erie Working Man. That's the repository of all his screenshots, right? That has like 678 members. Okay. There's almost 500 people. There are over 500 people following the page itself. And then what happens is when people share from those, their friends see that. And so the reach is in the thousands. And so the page itself is reaching 3,000 unique individuals every week. And that number is increasing. The Facebook group is even more than that. The Facebook group is reaching another 4,000 or 5,000 every week, unique individuals, Erie County on top of that.
Through quotes from Erie's Working Man? Is that
exactly? People are seeing this, and there are people that don't follow the webpage or the group, and they are sharing these screenshots. They're talking about it. When I have people reach out to me and say that, you know, a Davis campaigner came to their door and they were like, oh, I'm not going to vote for him because I've seen what he said. And they're like, you know, oh, that's fake news. Yeah. ErieWorkingMan.com.
ErieWorkingMan.com. Yeah. We got a rich repository of screenshots and receipts here on ErieWorkingMan.com.
And that's all. I haven't counted because I don't have time because I got great papers. I don't have time to categorize all those. But they're all right there. And I haven't put up the stolen valor stuff yet. I'm going to make a special section for all the bullshit lies, and not stretching the truth. But yeah.
And here's Facebook.com/Erie Working Man. Erie Working Man. It's satire / parody. It's parody of parody. A page
based on facts. It's humor based on
stories he tells about his military.
The bottom line, though, is this is all stuff that he's said. Like he said, he made his bones. He got to where he is today by being a fucking troll. And now all his trolling is like coming back and biting him on the ass. And, you know, in the debates, he's like...
I first received the vaccine in March on military duty, and I received the booster at the VA at the beginning of September.
So with the masks, the mask ordinance, the vaccines, the vaccine mandates, I mean, to me, I guess I'm more libertarian in a lot of senses. Like, I haven't
sure you are.
I'm not getting it. You know, it's just...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lie.
Here's the thing I got to tell you. So I receive all my health care from the VA, and I live a block away. I receive all my health care from them. You don't get a choice in the vaccine. Okay. I got Moderna. Everybody does. You get Girl Scout cookies too if you want it, right?
Oh, nice.
And I hold up Jessica Simpson. I want to keep that there for a second.
Yeah, we'll keep that. We'll keep that on the screen for a little while.
But I just want to explain that. You know, yeah, he's in the reserves or something. You know, weekend warrior, 2 days a month, 2 weeks a year, or whatever and stuff. So, I maybe he got a vaccine. I don't know, but you don't get a fucking booster at the VA on that shit. I don't. I'm the same age. We're both 38. I don't fucking qualify for the booster. I know he doesn't, and they're not gonna. You know, and so that's a blatant lie right off the bat, right? And so is he carrying a fake vaccination card? You know, how stupid that is. And then
was he lying then?
Who did he lie to? Did he lie to those people in the gun shop? How do they feel if they're like, oh, he lied to us? Are they cool with that?
Maybe. Many of them are. That's what's so surprising. There's a good portion of his constituency who are like, yes, lie to us. Tell us what we want to hear. Everything we don't like is fake news and communism.
Right.
And you know, and it's all just, you know.
And the rest is like, everybody lies. That's just politics,
like it's
man.
Pablum, and are like, they shake their pom-poms like they're cheering for the team.
Can I talk about Jessica Simpson here?
Yes, let's talk about Jessica Simpson.
Please.
I got to Jessica Simpson and I had to stop.
I was in Iraq from 04-05 and again 06-07. So she had gotten to Iraq, and just so you know, like my first 12 months, my first year in 13 months in Iraq, I put over 8,000 miles on Iraq roads, right? So I've been all over this country. I've been all over the country. Probably closer to 10, I don't know. But one of the most profound experiences I had when I was over there was the USO tour. You know, back in the World War II, Vietnam, et cetera, you know, Bob Hope would go and travel, et cetera. My experience of having Robin Williams and Wayne Newton come to our little camp and other stars and stuff, Rob Schneider, who I ended up realizing I hate his fucking guts because he's a terrible comedian. But at this, seeing and just being like feet away from Robin Williams and Wayne Newton from Las Vegas Entertainer and all these other people, and the thing was in 2005, Gary Sinise and the Sinise band, the Lieutenant Dan band, people were not traveling to Iraq on USO tours in 2005 because it was so fucking dangerous, because the insurgency had started around at that point. And it was so dangerous there that nobody like Al Franken and a handful of like people, Robin Williams, a handful of people who were coming out. It was mostly B celebrities. Jessica Simpson was one of the handful of celebrities who risked their lives to go to Iraq to perform for the troops. And in that snapshot right there on that meme, that was the second video within 3 months apart that Brenton Davis lied, not stretched the truth, lied,
flat out,
said, I came home from Iraq in 2005. Okay. There's only one person in that picture who came home from Iraq in 2005. It's Jessica Simpson. That is the thing about it. She is the only one who could say what he said and not be lying about it.
Shout out to Erie working man Jessica Simpson.
To you, Jessica.
And that's not casual speech. You don't just fucking say that. Because before I went to Iraq, everything, I served by the DMZ up in South Korea, and I received imminent hazard pay because it was our whole war game was we're going to get blown out of the water. We're all going to get killed by North Korea. Yeah, it's so like the whole that'd be like me if I were to be him. That'd be, and I was there in 03, 04. That would be like me. I got out in 09. That'd be like me getting out and be like, yeah, I came home from North Korea in 2009. It's like I was never in North Korea.
From the prison camps of North Korea.
I was close to North Korea, right? Yeah. So he was close to Iraq. He was never in Iraq. He was probably closer to Kuwait more than anything. And I know people don't know world geography, but it's a long fucking way. You're out on an aircraft carrier. You're in a fleet of 80 ships, and there's 5 fleets out there in the Persian Gulf, and you can't even see shore. And you're so far away from Iraq, and Iraq has this tiny sliver on the Persian Gulf. And so I'm sure it sucked to be out at sea for 110 days. I'm sure it's those 4 weeks that they were bombing the fuck out of Saddam Hussein. Those 4 weeks, because he was an armorer, essentially, he probably had to go deliver ammo and ammunition up to the jets, up from the bottom decks up to the higher, which I'm sure sucked. I'm sure he worked many long hours. I'm sure he did it well, and he should be proud of that, instead of telling fucking lies about rescuing a downed pilot in Karbala, which I've been there. He's sure as fuck would not go from aircraft carrier to Karbala. And just tell this lie, because he's telling it for a reason. This video clip was him being interviewed by Dan Laughlin for that community access media, right? Cam. He's on cam, and he starts off. That isn't casual speech. He is purposeful. It is his stump speech. He's probably out there saying it on the campaign trail.
Absolutely.
I came home from Iraq in 2005. You were in Japan. You came home from Japan in 2005. Yeah, thanks for the map. You were close. Yeah, that's Karbala.
That's Karbala.
Go down to the bottom right.
Let's zoom out.
Go to the bottom right. Keep going. Keep scrolling.
I'm still zooming.
By jet. That's a beautiful lake there too. But go past.
Still zooming. There's Baghdad. Baghdad is I don't know, about yay far from Karbala.
It's a long drive. Trust me.
Yeah, and then we're still zooming. Oh, here's
right there.
The Persian Gulf.
But go down where Kuwait is, right?
Yeah, here's Kuwait right here.
Although it's permanently secret, so the Navy will never disclose where the carriers were, but there's a lot of information out there where generally where they were a couple hours north of Bahrain. And so if you zoom in there in the Persian Gulf, that would place you
somewhere. I don't know if you can see my cursor on what I'm sharing.
He wasn't like an amphibious assault. He was on an aircraft carrier surrounded by 80 ships.
So somewhere out here in the middle bit of the northern bit.
What you're saying is he wasn't looking the Taliban directly in the eyes.
That's the other fucking thing. The Taliban, they're in the other direction. That's even further away.
Hatred in their eyes for America.
Now his ship did
our
participate in those actions before he got there. I think he's one of those people that likes to use the royal we, like,
Yes.
so like
Right.
that's like, you know, that if the army as a whole or if the U.S. military does something as a whole, he takes that as like, oh, I did
as his
that.
personal
Like,
accomplishment,
incorporated into his fictional account.
He was just running marathons, getting drunk, singing karaoke in Yokosuka, Japan. I mean, he did that for 3. And
I mean,
hey,
that sounds
no
great,
choice of
except for
Uncle
the
Sam
marathons
Senja.
part. Yeah, I mean, if I can skip the marathons, the rest of that sounds pretty
He erased
entertaining.
all that shit. He got rid of his biographies, all that stuff, which are still out there in the archives of the internet. He used to talk about his real military experience, what he did, and he erased it, and he started telling these fucking lies about
telling
combat
Shaggy Dog
experience.
stories about places he's never been and shit he's never done.
And I get it. He's retiring after 20 years in the military, and he's never seen combat. But it's not just that, because again, you don't have a choice. Yeah. Uncle Sam sends you wherever. But he sort of has a choice, because I made a phone call when I was 21 years old. I made a phone call and said, I don't want to actually, can you cancel my orders to stay a second year in Korea? And can you send me to the first unit that's going to Iraq? I made that phone call. The lady thought I was crazy, and I definitely was. But I made that phone call, and a month later, I was sitting in Kuwait, ready to drive north up into Iraq. Or 2 months later after that, a month later, I had orders. But you know, it's like that. So he spent 20 years in the military. It isn't just that he didn't. It's no big deal if you didn't serve combat. It's no pissing contest.
No,
it isn't that, right? It's that
it's not a dick swinging contest. And
he's adopted this warrior. He's called it a warrior culture. He talks about this like it's in everything. His angry salute pictures on his billboards. Everything he has is about this military combat warrior special forces spec ops operator bullshit, right? And for somebody who is and he has it 20 years, and so maybe psychologically he's like, man, America's longest wars, 20 years, multiple fronts that I could have participated in, millions have been in, and he hasn't stepped foot on any single one of them. And he wants this identity of being a warrior. Yeah, it's probably fucking with his mind right now.
He wants all the benefits of being the hero while not actually, not that he's, not that serving isn't its own reward.
But that's the thing. You don't, Garrett, you're exactly right. You don't like you used that term weaponize before. You don't weaponize your military service against other people, which he does. And he does. He's like, you've never worn the uniform. You can't speak on this. How dare you? Right?
Yeah.
And then he tells lies about combat. He's never seen it in 20 years, America's longest wars.
And when he's questioned about it or called on it or presented with it, his response is, well, have you served, or where were you during the war? As if, because you didn't serve, because you weren't in that, because you weren't in the military, that somehow you are unable to question.
Unfit to question the experience of anybody who was in a boat nearby.
He is fictionalized for himself.
637 kilometers.
I'm sorry, Adam. Let me just get this in.
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Then when he goes on the debates, and the one question I remember they presented it to Dr. Titus, and was there's been a lot of mudslinging in reference to Brent Davis's mudslinging of Dr. Titus, and then the question was. What makes you qualified for the job? And Dr. Titus rattled off how he brought the school district from insolvency and deficits as far as the eye could see to a surplus in his time during his tenure. And and he was a great, thoughtful, concise, outline of his qualifications and experience and what he brings to the table and why he would be best for the county executive. And then they turn to Davis, and he goes off on this, well, my opponent has had these childish, attacks, and I just think it's also very childish. And then he pivots as if to be completely not self-aware in the slightest. And then he pivots to launch into his stock attack of Dr. Titus in the most lowbrow, manner of mudslinging, dumb shittery. And it was like the same. It was like, oh, that's so childish and immature to be slinging mud in such a fashion. Yet, however, here I shall begin my, childish rant on something that isn't true, or well, not that it isn't true, but I will mischaracterize this so that I can weaponize this, so that I can launch this attack against Dr. Titus. And it was so pathetic. And like you said, the pivot of this election, I do think, is in the debate, because it was so fucking glaringly obvious what a complete ruthless lying sack of shit for just about every question that was brought up. And his minions will, be like, hey, and shake their pom-poms. But any casual observer, anyone that has half a fucking brain is watching this like, what on earth is this, numbskull? How can you get from this is childish and immature to, and then go and do the very
Say
thing
something childish.
This is how you do childish and immature. Hold my beer.
As beneath you. This is beneath my opponent to be so childish. But it's not beneath me. And he
I don't even think Donald Trump would have done something so stupid like that. You're so right. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because that was very telling. And I think people do notice, and people talk about it. And even people who didn't watch it, again, people, we live in a small community. People hear these things, they see it, etc. And there is something to be said that I remember in 2017, there was Republican veterans that were coming up to me and saying, thank you for not, doing what he fucking did with all the uniform shit all over the place and all this army, operator bullshit. He, that was a thing. Like, I got to tell you, and I want everybody to know, I love Dr. Tyler dearly. I consider them to be a very good friend of mine, but the Erie Working Man shit, I am not coordinating. Actually, intentionally, I'm not coordinating at all with that campaign at all, because I, as a combat veteran, and for the longest time, I asked myself, should I be saying that, right? Because even though I've been shot at, bombs gone off around me, lost people that I know, despite that, I've always been cautious about using that term. It's not something you just come out right and just say and shit. But the things that...
There's a certain reverence of your own service that you owe it to the public, not to be quiet about it and put it under a shell or some shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't walk around with fucking banners and fucking being like, look at me, the fucking war hero.
It's supposed to be selfless. Like, that is an army. It's an army value, selfless service.
That's kind of part of the code,
that's not
isn't
selflessness. It? Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so that's what got me was like, as I don't care, even if shithead Carl Anderson had won, I would still be doing this. I would continue to hate and despise Carl Anderson for everything who he is, etc., as a bigot, as a terrible person, whatever. He's going to disappear. I shouldn't even talk about his name, because nobody's going to ever talk about that guy ever again. But when it comes to Davis, this is personal for me, okay? Because of the women who told me about you, what you did to them.
Yes.
But B,
there's lots of them.
What you're doing about, or what you're doing and saying around veterans and your service, etc., and to not, and this shit I take very personally, and I'll make sure that you don't fucking forget this. I'll make sure nobody else forgets what you have done and said about veterans and military and military service, etc. I'll make sure you don't fucking forget it for the rest of your days, and that you'll be thinking about it the rest of your days. And I got to tell you, the reason why behind this, that is the why. Like, even I'm telling you right now that I think Tyler is going to have a larger margin of victory than Dahlkemper at the same time. So I think Tyler would win without what I'm, uncovering.
Well, you're doing the Lord's work here.
But but I'm doing this because people need to know this. He's a charlatan, and he's the worst of it. And I got to tell you that in doing this, that And the time I don't have, I work multiple jobs. I've got kids. I don't have time to be doing this shit, but I'm making time.
Well, and you're running for something that we haven't even talked about yet, and we'll circle back to that.
Yeah, but and that's the thing too, is that the guy is a clear and present danger, not because he's a macho man, because he's a self-absorbed cretin, and he needs to fucking help, and he needs to be out of the public life. But I gotta tell you that part of doing this, I went watching that debate again, where I see as a pivot, where they asked about the military service to Davis, and Davis gave the worst fucking answer. I guarantee you 100% of every veteran and every person who's lost a veteran or has a veteran in their family member, I guarantee when they heard Brenton Davis's the former working man's response, when he said, I'm a lifetime member of the VFW. Well, anybody can be a lifetime member of the VFW. The threshold to be a member is not much.
Like I can join the Elks Club. It doesn't give me antlers.
Either of you. I guarantee both of you could go become lifetime.
You pay your dues, don't you? Isn't there you pay your dues?
There's like in the past 20 years with America's Longest Wars, all you got to do is have served at some point in some general theater of war. That doesn't mean you've been anywhere. He doesn't have Iraq campaign medals. He doesn't have Afghanistan campaign medals, but serving in a time. And so there's millions that qualify for that. But that is so crazy. I've never heard a veteran ever as credentials for their service say, I'm a lifetime member of the VFW. Normally that would say, I served in X country from this time. Like I told you guys early on, 04, 05, 06, 07, right?
I served in Germany during Vietnam.
Exactly. You don't just come out and be like, I'm a member of this organization. And then he said something else that was very telling. He said something about Persian Gulf, right? And so, he served in the Persian Gulf. He was in the Gulf. He was floating out at sea, and did military stuff. Again, Uncle Sam sent him there. Good for him. He did a service, I'm sure, out there well. But the fact that he's running away, he's changing this dictator angry salute photograph off his billboards as we speak. He's removing all this military shit from his campaign material. He's dialing it back instead of calling himself in his most recent campaign video. I guarantee you, because of poking around I was doing, I guarantee you that they changed the wording in the video from decorated combat veteran to war veteran. I guarantee it was because of that. Because people start asking him this shit. And I really think that he's falling apart right now, because he's coming to grips with the lies he's told, and people closest to him are coming to grips. And if they're not, Phil English, Dan Laughlin, if you're not asking him about, why don't you just show your record, show that you came home from Iraq. Dan Laughlin, you were standing on stage with him last May on 12th Street. And Dan Laughlin, Senator, you were standing there next to him. And he said slowly, emphatically, in a very, concerted, very deliberate manner, I came home from Iraq in 2005. If you were advising his campaign, Dan, tell him, show them that you're telling
release your DD-214s.
And whatever. DD-214s is there's so many other documents you can show, but definitely that for sure. But explain that if the senator, if you've got any sort yourself, any kind of trust in yourself as a human being, or your candidate who lied standing right next to you on stage on TV, and thus makes you, what does that make you as a person, as a leader?
I'm just
hold
checking.
Accountable.
I'm just checking the website.
They all rally around the, the whole ethos.
Oh, there's the decorated combat veteran. The website still
doesn't have
says.
one combat decoration. FYI.
When you rally around the ethos of, when you're caught in a lie, just double down on the lie, just go all in on the lie and pronounce it and proclaim it fake news, or bullshit smear tactics or whatever. When you're caught in that lie, there's no own up to it. They're from the ethos now since the Trump era. That
coffee with the candidate. Your concerns matter to me Request a meet and greet today and show me your business. What the?
Don't show him. Don't.
Yeah,
hey, Garrett, I got to respond to Adam. Can you go back up to that whole block of the combat veteran? Because that whole thing's a lie. Like every word in that combat veteran, that whole thing's a lie. Because it's USS Kitty Hawk. If somebody falls overboard, there's records of that, and there's names of the people who fell overboard, and there's names of people who rescued them, and he wasn't on any of those names. I gotta tell you, and that the whole assistant professor shit, which I wasn't even looking into myself, turns out to be total fucking bullshit. All that stuff, everything he's talking about, all that's lies.
Yeah,
all those are lies. He doesn't have one combat decoration to be saying that. But anyways, I just gotta tell you,
enlisted in the U.S. Navy at 17. That part may be true.
It's sort of true. He entered
in
delayed entry at 17. But his actual enlistment, he was 18. Yeah.
Trained in search and rescue.
Yeah, I mean, sort of. Yes and no. We don't have time.
I took a CPR class once.
Not really.
I took a CPR class once, so I guess I'm trained in search and rescue.
I'm certified in CPR.
Yeah. Served in the Iraq War. I guess.
Well, that's saving lives. I'm just gonna tell you that didn't happen. He didn't save anybody's fucking life. He didn't say. I'm telling you, I'll say that with 100% confidence. He didn't save anybody's fucking life.
Later joined the U.S. Army Reserves. That part, I suppose, is true.
True.
Rising through the ranks in a 21-year career in our nation's uniform.
Kind of sucky that he's only a captain. I got to tell you, and he knows this. It's terrible. I mean, it's good. You can't control that thing, but come on, in the reserves, he should have been a major by now. He should have been a major years ago. I just, again, civilians. I mean, that's not something you guys to worry about.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah,
I want to be too proud about that.
Not the civilians aren't hip to the whole timeline.
But that whole thing's bullshit. That whole
the whole timeline.
That whole paragraph.
Like during his 21 years with Walmart, he rose to become an assistant manager.
Yeah, it's like
Apparently, Brenton
while playing semi-pro football, he scored 4 touchdowns, once for Polk High.
Garrett, you had said something though. I think I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but. There's something about there there was something at the debate.
Oh, when
they asked both
Dr.
candidates
Titus
about
was
the
asked the question, when Dr. Titus was asked the question about with all the mudslinging, and it was the questioner, McCormick, I believe it was trying to ask him about Davis's mudslinging smears.
Yeah.
Without really bringing up the smear, and Dr. Titus, addressed the smear, explained what the situation was and how it was a family member he had taken into his home from foster care, and medical bills were overwhelming, and that was the situation.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Davis' campaign is trying to make this out to be, some he can't manage money because of that. And he addressed it, took it head on, explained the situation, moved on, explained why he was, his experience would make him the best candidate. They pivot to Brenton Davis for the follow-up. Brenton Davis goes and makes a comment about how these attacks and smears against me are just childish, and then pivots in
the most childish,
immature behavior, and as if he wasn't doing it, it was just his opponent, and then totally pivots within the same fucking breath, and then launches the same attack, and
So that's where it isn't just compulsive lying. That's where the pathology comes into play. When he can look into a camera and not skip a beat. When he can look into a camera and not when he tells his lies. When he can look into a camera and lie and be confident about it and say these things, that's indicative of
double down on
pathology. That is that he knows he's lying, but he's not feeling guilty about it. That's what's sociopathic about it. And that he has no guilt, remorse, or concern. Because if somebody was to tell a lie, they're looking off.
Everything's a means to the end.
Yes, because they're worried.
Means to the ends.
Yeah. But for him, lying is just a natural part of what he does, and big lies. And he's so confident in his lies, and he's sociopathic in that and his behavior is sociopathic in that. And so that's what. But I got to say, I really loved when I was watching it, and I watched it after the fact because I was in class myself, or I was teaching. I can't remember, but
you're too busy being a working man.
He's working.
Hey man, so, you're a busy man, Jay Breneman.
But they asked, you know, and Davis gave his run around bullshit military response, and then they asked Tyler about it, and Tyler, my God, I just felt it to my soul when Tyler was like, yeah, it would be a disgusting shame, whatever Tyler said, if it turned out that somebody was lying about their military service, etc. When Tyler said that, I was like, holy shit, oh my God.
Not that anybody I know would ever do anything like that.
Yeah, it'd be a shame.
Tyler's right. Tyler's right.
You've got a nice campaign there. It'd be a shame if you fucked it all up with your own bullshit. You know, exactly I thought Dr. Titus was handled themselves very, very well, and under some withering attacks from fucking Working Man Mountain.
Well, it's also just nerve-wracking being on live TV and having
it's stressful enough having to go through that.
There's a digital clock that's telling you how much time you got, and you don't know
exactly.
what questions coming, and you're thinking of all these things. Every human being, even Brenton was nervous as fuck, and I feel for every human being because I've been there multiple times. Every human being that runs for office and they feel and act a little nervous, etc. I'm not going to hold that against a person.
No, not at all.
That is something that it's tough, and good for you for going through that. It is tough, but you know, in that, I think that Tyler definitely showed themselves to be more capable, authentic, etc. In that whole time, and it's not just a performance. It's like this where you get to see who they really are, and I think we really got some. And again, I think that I really truly believe that whenever our local media, again, and part of a larger system, they're not doing it intentionally. I think whenever our local media gets around in the next so many days to cover the sheer lies and the responses from the Davis camp, etc., I think when that shit comes out, I think that's going to be the death knell of the campaign. And I think that Davis has already lost the race. I think the race is already been lost.
Do you think the press, the local press, will be covering that though? Because
they are. I don't know about the TV stations. I don't know.
I know a lot of times the local press is just the reflectors. Dr. Titus says this, and here's what he said.
We're going to tell you that he said this.
It's just there, Brenton Davis says X, Y, and Z. All right, let's
say they did that, and let's say that was the minimum amount that they did. That would be enough to see that Davis is so full of shit that would again be the death knell in his campaign. I'm telling you that the lies that he has told are egregious, and the things that he has done is blatant and out there and irrefutable. Okay, that even if the media's response was just a milquetoast, let's just do response, tete-a-tete, let's do response to response, etc. Even in that would be wholly destructive to his campaign. And I think that's already happened because I believe he's already given his responses and to the media. And I think that whenever the fuck the media decides to run that shit in itself, even if it was the most basic boiled down version, that is enough to demonstrate that he's unfit for office. And other than his diehards, which he's going to have, again, you're not changing their minds. At the end of the day, I don't want everybody to know, at the end of the day, I don't think that Davis's huge, not just shortcomings, but whatever the hell it is, running from your comings, whatever that word is, like you running away from like doing the, whatever that is, it may not necessarily mean voters. I think a lot of it will. I think some of it will lead to some voters swaying and choosing Dr. Titus. But at the same time, I think there's just going to be a lot of people that are just going to be like, they weren't going to vote for Tyler, and that hey, whatever, fuck you, but you're not going to vote for Tyler. But at the same time, I think they're going to see all this bullshit from Davis.
You think they're just going to stay home?
The purists, and they're just like, I'm not going to vote, or I'm just going to write somebody else in, or I'm not going to choose somebody for that. And I think that's what's going to cost even more votes. And I think that's
cratering of the campaign for Davis. How do we?
And that's all Davis is doing.
How do we go about helping to boost turnout for Dr. Titus?
So that's honestly a question for. I wish I could answer that. That's really a question for the Tyler's campaign. Honestly, it is that, because while I'm sitting here like telling you, I think Tyler's going to have a wider margin of victory than Dahlkemper has. While I'm telling you that, the election isn't over and people have to vote. And if you got a kid or a relative that's turning 18, get them registered. Tomorrow's the deadline. Get them registered fucking now to go vote, etc. Make sure your shit's good. Make sure if you go to the polls and if they say you can't vote, etc., at least get a provisional ballot, whatever it is. People need to vote. They need to get out there and they need to spread Tyler's message, which I think is compelling. It is human. It is, when I hear Tyler speak, it sounds like somebody who cares, because they do. It sounds like somebody who's experienced a shit ton, because they have. And it's somebody who understands the connection between everyday human life and what the county government does. I think that's true. And at the same time, if you really just hate fucking Davis's guts like I do, feel free to share all the Erie working man shit too.
That's another thing that the Davis campaign has tried to do, is turn the fact that what we would think would be a positive, all right, a public servant who cares deeply about the community, has put in their time as a public servant to better the community, has a track record of taking the school district from deficits to surpluses. All right, from
working in the county too for like 8 years working
in the county and all the things
that's a tough job.
And again, they've weaponized what is a virtue, what would be, you would think would be attracting voters. The Davis campaign has tried to weaponize that into some kind of softness, or some kind, like somehow, in order to do the job of county executive, you have to be some hard ass, freaking Rambo.
They're gonna spend all our money on caring about people, and we can't have that.
Yeah, exactly. Like somehow
bootstraps.
Caring for your neighbors and trying to better the community and having empathy and knowledge in various areas of those in the most need is somehow not a plus, and that is something that is attacked as soft or as not machismo enough to freaking run the county, which could not be further from the truth. But it's the way the right weaponizes what used to be American virtues. It used to be qualities that we looked and longed for in our public servants.
Service.
And they've been, they've taken the virtues and weaponized them into something that is considered weakness or something that is considered a flaw, But the Brian fucking Shanks of the world and the freaking Bretton Davises are like, and that's what baffles me about the Republican Party and these freaking clowns that they're running in this cycle. That we need to mobilize the vote and get out there and vote to make sure that this doesn't take hold in Erie County. And there's my rant.
Go on.
I could, but that's we've got working man Jay Breneman here.
We do have working man Jay Breneman.
I don't want to monopolize
the real working
man. Real working man.
I might trademark that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes,
I might trademark it.
I love what the true quotes from Erie's working man is doing, and I love what the Erie working man page, and I love what's being done there.
Other people, they sent a lot, because I blocked that motherfucker a long time ago because he's disgusting to me. Yeah. But people have sent me like these screenshots. I went through and myself and found them, and I gotta tell you that I told the media, I told reporters, I'm like, listen, you go find this shit yourself. And I said for like the archives, he thought he deleted the shit off Twitter. I'm sorry, but somebody who's just a little bit of a learning curve. You've been on the internet for a couple of days. You could find mine. Yeah, go through my shit. Okay, you can find some ultra liberal shit, but I gotta tell you, you can go through and find the archives on his Twitter, and it took me like 30 minutes to go find his old Twitter things that he thought he deleted, and there's all he say. It's a screenshot. He was proud. He was so proud of it. He had it out there, and it wasn't just the stuff that's on archive that he thought he deleted that is easily there and verifiably proved, because all those quotes I show up from Twitter, you can go right now on the internet and go download it yourself. If you don't believe it's fucking true, go do it yourself. I'll walk you through it. I'll give you a step-by-step on how to do it. Right now, for the Facebook stuff too, before he changed the name, he changed the name of his Facebook account, which, hey, that should tell you something, because he's trying to fucking hide it. He locked down his account, right? He did all this shit. Some of those things are still fucking on there. And so if you're friends with him, you should be able to go find some of these posts that still exist that he hasn't deleted. And the fact that these posts had hundreds of engagements, likes, dozens of shares, all this other stuff, they've sat there for years. People have seen, I told the press this, people have seen them.
Yeah.
This isn't just something he wrote on a napkin somewhere and stuck in a closet. He said this shit publicly.
In the public forum,
people reacted to them, shared them, liked them,
Davis attacks elected officials. He made a cottage industry out of attacking elected officials. That's he's, like I said,
I don't know what was going on with them in 2018 and 19. Well, he does need help. I just got to tell you, and I'm not joking. I'm dead serious. Brenton, go see a counselor. I hope there's somebody who's equipped to handle you. But whatever was happening with them in the past couple of years, to go on like a tirade on Twitter with congressman from California who's not reading your fucking tweets. Why the fuck are you tweeting at them?
Yelling at AOC, yelling at
they're not seeing your AOC isn't reading your tweet.
No.
What is wrong with you, dude? Biden is it? Pelosi's not. What's wrong with you, man?
Like don't at me, bro.
You mentioned that in the debate, though. I think there was a part of it where they were talking about your weaknesses, and he sort of alluded to that. He's like, before you send that tweet, think about it. It's like, is he giving himself advice?
Is he talking to himself?
Yeah,
because he obviously did that.
Yeah.
We got. I'm reading
like you
through.
Said, I'm sorry, Adam.
No,
like you were saying.
Yeah.
I never really thought about it until you brought it up tonight there, like in those kinds of terms, like, yeah, he does need some help. He'll never go seek help because he never thinks he's wrong. And like you said, he doubles down when he is, instead of being like, oh my God, I fucked up. You know what? Exactly. I'm just going to own this and say, I'm sorry and move on.
Well, that's not what manly men do.
No, they don't. They double down and they be deep about it.
Because he doesn't have limp wrists. He's got wrists of steel. He must have been through so much trauma as a kid. I don't know what he went through as a kid, but I know whatever happened to him.
Ass whoopings and screamings.
Must have been.
Which is,
he didn't have a father figure. I don't know. I feel bad for him. I really do.
What he would say the kids nowadays need is a good ass whooping, and
Yeah.
He said some weird shit and some harmful stuff.
Totally
there's a limit of where I have sympathy. I have empathy for whatever trauma he's been through in his life, and that he needs therapy. But I would never just be like, oh well, that gives you a free go to abuse people and to no.
Yeah.
No, but he's got some serious issues, and they are on full display. And he's a psychopath and
sociopath.
Yes, that too.
Yeah,
but
he does need help.
Key distinction.
And he needs some help. And it's I don't know if it's PSTD or PTSD or
maybe trauma as a child.
Yeah,
I mean that's
some sort of traumatic events as throughout his life, and has just been. And is now going to take it out on the county and those he perceives as against him, and the libtards and people that care so much.
And the fact that it's somebody who's been, whatever traumas he's been through that's made him as a person as he is.
But has no desire
enables him to become the nominee for a party and their standard bearer.
Well, because he went out and created that. Yeah, he went out and created that working man persona
based on their interests. That's
war
true.
Hero persona.
Yeah.
And got the recognition and got the likes and got the, you're right, stick it to those libtards. Oh my God, you sure did tell AOC on that tweet. Oh man, I love how you stuck it to her and put her in her place. God, we love you. And then he gets that and he feeds. He's like, oh,
he's a working woman, not a working man.
Someone loves me. They love
me. If only his daddy had liked his tweets more as a kid.
The bigger the dick I am to people, the more they love me, and the more they click on that like button, and the more affection and attention I get. I got so much of it now. They want me to run for county executive.
He needs other hobbies. He needs to just
stick with building seawalls.
Does he have other hobbies?
Like build a shelf or something.
Build a shelf
with fucking chair
with your working man tools.
Like Mel Gibson in the beginning of The Patriot, right? The opening scene of The Patriot when he's making the rocking chair and he sits down and it breaks and he gets up and he throws it into the corner with the other rocking chairs that he tried to build that were unsuccessful. Come on.
I forgot all about that, but yeah, he should be making some fucking rocking chairs.
Make a fucking rocking chair, man.
As much as I want him to leave town, I really don't in a way, because I worry that he would go to another community and abuse and mistreat them the way he has here. And so in a way, I think he needs to face his demons right here. So as much as I want to see him gone from Erie County, I think that would be detrimental to whatever other community he goes to, and they may not know or have the history or knowledge to be able to recognize his bullshit from the get-go. So
we
need some therapy and to make some rocking chairs
and parade him through the streets with the shame bell.
A lopsided loss would go a long way towards just all right, go back into your hole. And
could you imagine
volunteer for freaking Dan Laughlin's upcoming campaign?
If we were any more fascist as a country, could you imagine how much he would succeed in that environment? And how scary that shit is. If there was even just a little bit more fascism that we have, if this was
we're inching closer.
Spain or whatever, Mussolini,
Yeah.
under Mussolini in Italy, if this was any shit, he would be rising to the top of the ranks. That's what's so fucking scary, is that there's people that would enable that kind of thing happening. And he's the person who would rise through the ranks of that, through everyday voters, people in your family, people in your neighborhood who would vote and support those type of people. He's the person who would rise to the top.
Working man murals on every corner.
Because he would be the one willing to go the furthest when it goes to telling that lie or, pushing that falsehood that needs pushed.
But anyways, we should move off the topic, but I just want to close with the Britton Davis conversation. Be like, Britton, you're going to lose. You're anybody who's in elected office right now, Dan Laughlin, former Congressman Phil English, you guys are really hurting your own reputations terribly right now. You picked a really bad person to support all that. And Dan, you really, last spring when you said we got all kinds of dirt on the Democratic candidates and I'll be able to whatever, fuck you.
Oh, I remember that tweet. I remember that freaking post when it was happening and I saw him post and I'm like, oh,
it's like that,
okay.
Is it?
Oh, is this how? This is how it's going to be there.
A state senator threatened me and be like, "Oh, we got enough to bury all of the Democratic candidates." We're like, okay. Do you not vet your own candidates?
Bring it.
What does it say about you as a person, as a professional, as an elected official, as your own soul, that you would allow that, Dan and Phil, that you can't even clean up his act? It's so fucked up. You can't even clean up his mess.
The stain of Brenton Davis and the stain of him losing this election will hopefully splatter onto Dan Laughlin's Carhartt.
They've been smearing it on themselves this whole way for months. They've been Dan's smearing it on the whole way.
Oh yeah, all over behind.
And Dan, you're gonna lose the primary. You're not going to make it, Dan. You're not going to be a GOP candidate for governor. You're not even going to get fucking close. You should recognize that too, Dan. I'm telling you, Dan, if you're watching this or your people, you're not going to get anywhere fucking close to be. And I hope you know that so you can be true to yourself. But at the end of the day, with all this, this is going to be a shit show in a couple of weeks. We'll be thinking about what's the Tyler Titus administration going to look like, and what are some things that we're going to be built upon rather than destroying, and lives we're going to save and restore rather than tear down and prevent and restrict. These are the conversation in 2 weeks from now we're going to be having about what that future looks like. And I think it's going to be great as far as this. I think it's going to be a shift that we haven't seen in a long time. And this was something that I kind of saw like last spring as things were kind of unfolding. I was like, I thought this change that we're undergoing in Erie County, I really perceived this change was several years off. I thought it would be 2025. And I was so ecstatic. Like, again, I don't want to say like I'm Nostradamus or something, perceiving things, but the things that I saw unfolding and I still see unfolding and I think is changing and will change. I was ask anybody who's close to me. I was super cynical about this shit. I really was like, shit's not going to happen until after 2025. And in the past, 6 months, I've been like, holy cow, I didn't realize it was coming so soon. It's happening now. And we have Dr. Titus to thank for a lot of that. But I think we're seeing this right now. And I'm telling you, in November, our conversation is going to be changing dramatically. And I think it's going to be heartwarming, and we'll never utter Davis or Shank's name ever again. Well, maybe Shank until he's out of office and no longer in council. But we got some amazing shit going on right now. And I think once we hit November and get past this bullshit of these liars and abusers of women and other people, I think we're going to have that shift. And I think it's going to be something else. And I think it's going to be worthwhile. Again,
I thought it would be several years from now. Move the county forward and provide expanding services for. Yeah, I know that is. I'm sorry. I withdraw that. Council, I'd like to withdraw and rephrase.
Yeah.
Provide the services necessary to meet the needs of those who are marginalized, and those needs out in the county, and those needs in the city, and those needs in the the hinterlands of the county, for all the people, not just the red people in the across the county, because there is a punitive nature to the red voters ethos. Like, now that we've won power, it's time for us to punish the other side by cutting and destroying all that's been worked on for.
Yeah. Well, that's the nature of supremacy. They benefit from the struggles and oppression of others.
Yes.
That's the nature of it. Isn't that they're getting something ahead, which they are in general, but isn't that they're getting something special ahead? It's that others are getting fucking nothing when they've already they live within a system of oppression. So yeah. Yes. But things are changing, and I'm telling you.
And the pendulum is swinging in the direction of Dr. Titus, and
it's tenuous. I mean, look at so I've always liked Mayor Schember as a person. He seems like a really nice guy. If I wanted to Werther's original grandpa to hand me some candy and shit,
he's a very nice man. Yes,
he's a very wonderful person. He seems like a very kind soul. And I
good Santa Claus.
Good Santa Claus.
He is
excellent Santa Claus.
I like him. He's a genuinely nice guy.
Yes,
I've had a problem that he never once had to talk about policy or explain shit. He could just say whatever the fuck he wanted, in his fashion of whatever he did, and not fucking change things. But what are you gonna do? That's where he's at. Nobody else is gonna be mayor. He's gonna be mayor again for at least another term. City council, I feel that it's going to be interesting. I really think that in the years to come, because City Hall really is a very toxic place, and City Hall is not a place where change makers can thrive, let alone barely survive. And so I think that we'll continue to see city council sort of like bobbing their heads above water a little bit on many issues. And I think it's just going to be, at least for, I think city council is going to be one of the last vestiges of the old thing. I think we're going to see, that's going to be the last place we're going to see significant change. Even with the new council that's coming in, I think the intransitions of the, and even the Schimber admission, everything else, and the difficulty of change as it is with, I think you're really going to see city council is going to be, we're going to see more positive stuff, right? You got Liz, you're going to see the firebrand, you're going to see the,
you're going to see Jasmine Flores.
Jasmine, who's going to come in and who's willing to learn and do more and to understand more and to try new things and to adjust and to push back and not just go with the flow.
Well, we've had Jasmine on the show a couple of times, and the first time that Jasmine was on the show was in between the two times that she ran for city council. It was when the Trump boat parade was coming to town, and Jasmine organized the counter protest.
Oh, she did,
for the Trump boat parade. So I had Jasmine on to talk about the counter protest to the Trump boat parade. And we had a great conversation, and it was cool. And then we had Jasmine on the show again during primary season. And even just in the 6 months between the two times that we had Jasmine on the show, like, she got her shit together. Like she had shifted from like activist with a lot of good opinions and good things to say about things to like she, she's still got that edge to her, which
she's grounded.
She's
grounded in her virtues and values. And
she's very authentic, very much a product of, where she comes from and who she comes from, but has her politician game much more together just in that 6 months between the two times that we talked. She's willing to learn,
and she's willing to put in the work, and she's willing to study the issues, and that's,
and to change those things.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, I've learned some things from her and I gotta tell you that's what I've always found like really intriguing about her, because like it isn't so much that she's working towards being in office that most candidates are, like, to be elected.
Right.
Jasmine's really there and has always been driven about changing the system. And I think what you're both speaking to are those things where she's gaining those skill sets around what is change, what does the change process look like within those systems, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't so much that you go along, it's with that there's almost a different language and different things, but at the same time, as long as you're rooted and you look and you're not comfortable, and I don't think she would be comfortable with the status quo whatsoever, and those are the things that I really admire about her. I don't think that she'd be comfortable with the status quo. I don't think she'd be comfortable with just being in office and being an elected official like most would, and that's what I admire about her, and I really see a lot of hope and potential in her, and I'm excited to see what she's able to do. Not to put too much on her shoulders, but I really think she's going to do many great things on council, pressure, and I think she's going to be one of the people to watch throughout her tenure, be it council or elsewhere. I really think that she's going to drive a lot of the change that we need. At the same time, she's got a lot of work ahead of her because she's in City Hall, and I just City Hall is going to, again, like, I think want to be one of the last places that we're going to see significant change. When it comes to these other races too, it'll be great to just shut down Brian Shank, the woman abuser who can't do his own fucking job and wants to pretend to be a cop. That's cool. Whatever. I really think that we'll see a significant change under the Titus administration. But, some of these other races, so like, city council or school board, the city school board, there's, I admire and impressed, and I'm just blown away by like the Dr. Leatrice Tate, who's going to I think is going to be phenomenal. Like I've learned so much from her, and I think she's going to do phenomenal in that position. And I'm really excited. Yeah. I think she'll win, and I hope she does. And I'm excited by her candidacy, and I'm excited to hopefully work with her and to learn from her and to help her advance some many great things that she's been pushing for. At the same time, I see that in this other the school district's going to change dramatically just right now with this election.
Well, you're losing so much institutional knowledge. I mean, not just Tyler, but Jim Winarski and, all the other people who were leaving school board to, in most cases, to run for other offices, other countywide offices.
And Jim's going to be like he's going from city council to county council, which is kind of like
sorry,
city
that's
council. That's my old seat. It kind of grosses me out because
I was thinking of.
You're right. I don't think it'll be terrible. I just don't think it'll be good.
No, there were good options. There were good options in that race. We had several other good options in that race on the show and had interesting conversations with them.
Kevin Pastevka, so he was running for, and I believe he was the right candidate for that seat.
Yeah, and you and I have had this conversation offline, but yes.
But I was taking out the garbage. I was taking out the garbage one night, and this car drives by in front of my house. And people have stolen my Biden signs, and I don't remember all the other I think I was unloading all this stuff about San Filippo, that racist motherfucker, and Carl Anderson, who's a bigot and profited off of being a politician, the worst kind of the worst. Somebody I'm taking out the garbage, and somebody shouts my name and shit. I'm like, oh fuck, here we go. It's go time. I don't have my phone. I'm I got a pocket knife. What's going down? I'm thinking on my street, shit's about to go down. I'm like, it's on. What is this? It's going on. And then this car goes rolling up. I'm like, all right, do I jump him? What do I do? How do I do this? And it was Kevin and his daughter in their car.
Oh, hey. It's you.
We just ended up having this conversation when I was taking out the garbage. But and Kevin is tough, and I believe he would. He's a wrestling coach or whatever, but we had really good people like Kevin, and so that's the thing. There's other wonderful, great candidates out there that have ran before and just haven't gotten in, or they haven't decided to run or yet. And if you're one of those people, do it. If you've done it before and you lost, try again. Get back out there. Mm-hmm. I honestly,
and that's kind of the conversation
right now.
That's kind of the conversation that we've had. The times that we've had Jim Wirtz on the show is we get these good people that go out and try it once, and the first time might not be their time, and it's a challenge and it's a struggle if they go out and get their ass kicked the first time, to get them to come back for more and
a lot.
Take that second bite at.
Who really wants that? Who really wants that kind of hassle?
And I mean, to
Jazz, your heart and soul into this, put all this work in, and don't win, and you're like, all right, well.
To Jasmine's credit, she lost in the primaries by less than 200 votes.
Less than that, I think. Yeah,
less than I think it was.
That. Yeah.
I thought it was under 100, but I'm.
Yeah, you're probably tight. You're probably right.
Old there, guys. My memory is
it was very, very tight. And then it was all right, that's a sign that, we're just about there, and let's come back in 2 years and try it again. So,
and boom.
City council, school board, obviously, you do an excellent job not talking about yourself and the fact that you are running for school board, and that, we should all vote for you for school board.
Part of it is because I see the priority of certain races, right? So the priority to me is the county executive race. To me, that's first and foremost the most important of anything. And when it comes to school board, I think that I don't have yard signs, but I got Dr. Tate's sign in my yard, and I tell people about Leah Trail all the time. And I think that that there are good candidates out there that need to focus, and I feel that I feel like I don't need that. I don't need that attention because I think a lot of people know who I am and they know where I stand and on those things. And I feel like if I have time available and resources available, it would be best spent supporting others than it is to my own. Because so to me, it's not that and when it comes to the school board, for instance, it's something I almost did a couple years ago. It's something that I'm super passionate about. I've put the school district and young families and neighborhoods around schools at the center of every campaign I've ever had, from county council to mayor, state rep, all that stuff. It's been at the center point of every single campaign I've ever had. And so it's if I'm not going to be in politics generally for a while, which I am taking a break right now. I'm halfway through my doctorate right now, which is like crushing me right now. And it is hard, arduous work right now. But I think, if one way I can give back is to my kids' school district, is to the school district that we all rely upon. And so I think that, for me, I'm cognizant of the fact that we've really fucked over our own generation, and generations before us has fucked us over. And, I think that we have to prepare the next generation to fix all the problems that we've confronted them with. And I think that, to me, that's like going to be my biggest, personally, on school board, that's going to be the thing I'm going to focus mostly on is how can I better equip Erie's youth to lead that change before they even graduate, while they're in high school, leading that change, while they're in middle school, leading that change, understanding how government works, understanding how local government works, civic life, understanding how, and even have an influence over some of the budget items, et cetera. I really think that we need to engage the youth in this, because if it really is it isn't a talking point. It is up to them, whether it's the environment, whether it's racism, whether it's the economy, you name it. It is up to this next generation. Our generation, guys, Garrett, we're not going to fix this shit. It's too late. We've been hobbled a lot by the previous generations before us, and still all this other stuff. It's really going to be this next generation. And so for me, my whole focus in my life is preparing this next generation so that they can lead with, and I'll be there to support it in every single way I can, and to give them the tools and resources. So that to me is what my drive and mission on the school board will be, is to ensure they have that. Focus less on buildings, more on the human beings, the lives, focusing less on, focusing more on not just like the school district of where the buildings and the schools are, but recognizing that land use policy is school policy. The well-being of not just the individual or the family, but the well-being of the neighborhood and the community has a direct impact on the success and the capability of the school district to meet its goals. And so the school district needs to be forceful in pushing the city and the county, and then of course the state, in addressing the policies within the boundaries of the city of Erie, these policies that most people don't think much about or know very, very little about, that is creating the segregation that is worse now than it was 50 years ago. This separate lives. Again, we're talking about, when we talk about the population declining in Erie, it's declining for white people. It's not declining for African Americans, Asian immigrants, Hispanic, Latino. It's not. So, the city might be in decline population wise as we know it as white people, but it's not. The city is changing and it's growing. And it's growing in the very communities. And I've put this off because I have work and stuff, but I've preliminarily looked over, because I designed maps when I was in Iraq, by the way. My second tour, I know mapping very well, and I went through and created, and census maps and all this. I gotta tell you, the neighborhoods that, if you were to look at Erie Refocused and the color coded, the brown, they chose brown. The neighborhoods that are brown, and that they said don't put money here and all this other stuff, those are the neighborhoods that are growing. The other ones are not growing. There's negative population growth in the nicest neighborhoods. And in the neighborhoods that you consider the worst, there's a positive population growth. There's a negative population growth of white residents. And there's a significant, and again, 14% white, 6% African American. So all this, huge growth. And so the city is growing and changing. It's just growing where we've segregated people to be.
Right.
And so we have to invest in allowing people to live in the neighborhoods that they want to live in. And we have to invest in people's lives and their livelihoods and their well-being in the neighborhoods, because that's the only way our school district's going to succeed. And that's the only way that these young kids are going to be able to go through school and then go on when they graduate from high school, hopefully, to change our city, our county, our state, et cetera. And so to me, that's like the biggest charge right now that we all could hold. And so people should be voting in the school district race, and you'll get 4 choices. And yeah, there's some nice people on there that are Republicans, but I'm telling you, don't fucking vote for them. My God, don't do it. Because when they're talking about, when they're talking about increasing class size, or they're just talking about, I don't care if they're nice people, or if you were in PTA with them, or if that stuff doesn't matter. Like, that's nice of them, but we're talking human lives. When you make policy at the school district, city council, county executive, sheriff, wherever it is, if you're making and implementing policy, there are human beings that are impacted by the decisions you made. There are decisions I made on county council that I still regret to this day. And there's decisions I made on county council that I'm so happy that I did fight for them, that I did help make them happen. And there's those things that I think that you have to live every single day, knowing that you're impacting the most vulnerable. And no matter if you like this person, or they're nice, they seem nice, they present well, etc., think about the policies that they're advocating for, or that they would choose, because those impact lives and generations. You're not just impacting them like right now, this budget or this policy, we'll get to it later, whatever. That we're impacting somebody's life right now, their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, and then the health and wellness of their entire life all throughout. And it's their economic, their money and well-being, their health and well-being, their all of that stuff. And so if anybody's watching this, if it comes to voting, make a little list of all the nice people on that list that you like. If there was a complete asshole that was on that candidate rate that I was like, I fucking hate that person. But if their policies were going to have a positive impact on future lives, I would absolutely vote for them. And the nicest person that I might go have a beer with, I might be like, yeah, I support you, but I'm not going to fucking vote for that person when it comes to it. And I think people need to make that. They need to make that call.
So you talking about the nice Republicans that we should not vote for. One of the people who's going to be on the ballot as a Republican, because you're the only Democrat in the race who didn't cross file.
Dr. Tate.
Oh,
Leotra.
Okay. One of the few Democrats in the race who didn't cross file.
2, I think.
Zachariah Sharif is going to be on the ballot as a Republican.
I'm voting for him. I'm going to feel weird because I'll be voting for somebody who says are Republican on the ballot.
It's got to be strange.
But I'm voting for Zachariah Sharif, and I think everybody. I'll tell you right now. Right now, I'm voting for Leotra and Dr. Tate and Zachariah Sharif. I'm voting for those two. At least I may or may not vote for myself. I don't know, but I'm voting for those two. I don't know if I'll vote for other candidates in that race.
Okay.
There's things I have that I respect of the other candidates.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to, I don't know if I'm going to fill in four bullets on that on the school board race. I might just do 2. I might vote for myself too on top of it.
You should vote for yourself,
But those 2, I'm telling you, Zachariah.
Yeah.
And I hope if Zachariah doesn't make it through this, I hope he runs again the next time. And I think he's an exceptional candidate. Without a doubt.
I would agree.
And I do question people who run split ticket. I really, just so everybody knows, if somebody's like, I'm going to run on both tickets, I do question them a lot. But yes. I think he was sort of told that, I think that it wasn't, I think it was just sort of something that sort of happened.
Yeah, it's something that got recommended to them. And
I'm not going to hold Zachariah against, I'm not going to hold that against them. But but for people who were super intentional about it from get-go and campaign, I'm not going to say any names because I do sort of respect them. But, anybody who I'm going to have a specific Republicans outreach candidate, all this other stuff.
Well, sorry, I mean, the only person
I'm not going there.
You're not going to name any names, but the only person who got through on both tickets, correct me if I'm wrong, is Daria Devlin.
Oh yeah, she did. Yeah.
And I was driving around the city today. I was driving to take eldest kiddo back to their mom's, and I passed a house somewhere up in Glenwood, had a Brian Shank sign and a Daria Devlin sign in the front yard. And my reaction to that, I met Daria briefly. We invited her to come on the show, and nothing came of that. But I've met Daria briefly. But
she's a very nice person.
Yeah, I like her. I've worked with her.
Yeah,
I've worked with her firsthand.
She
side.
seems very qualified and very capable, and
right. Honestly,
and
I think she'll do great on the school board. I do question the outreach to Republicans, and I want to tell you, I want everybody, if this ever lands, if somehow there's a Republic, not just a regular Republic, like there's like a gross Trumpster out there that's watching this and recording this shit to put it on Facebook. So. I hope you fucking do. Because let me tell you,
it's already on Facebook.
Watching this, however, if you make a clip out of this or whatever, I want you to fucking know. I want everybody to fucking know this, that if you voted for Donald Trump, or you see Britton Davis or Brian Shank as like some like ideal or the best choice for any candidacy,
some kind of patriot.
I don't give a flying fuck about your opinion. I don't give a shit about, and as a matter of fact, I don't want your vote. Don't ever fucking vote for me. If those are the candidates that you, and I'm going to tell you, like, because that's the thing with like people running for office is like you try to like play the middle, or you try to like encourage, people like, oh yeah, and I think that's a large part why Julie Slomsky lost a huge part, because like trying to play.
I was going to talk about her next.
You could talk about that, Adam. But let me just tell you, like that shit, I would, if I went past a house, and let's say I had yard signs, which I don't for this race, but if I went past a house and I saw like a fucking Shank sign or Davis sign, and I saw a Breneman sign, I would yank that sign out of the yard myself.
Give me that back.
I would take it myself, because I would be so, because that reflects on me as a person. And I'm telling you, record this, snap it, put it on. I don't give a shit. Please do. I might do it myself. I don't know. Let me tell you, if that is how you vote, I don't want your fucking vote. I never want your vote. Don't do it once. Do not vote for me. If Donald Trump, Brian Shank, Britton Davis is your type of candidate, do not vote for me. Don't sully my fucking reputation with your vote. I don't want it. It's gross. If you have a yard sign of mine, I'll take it out of your yard myself.
Well, and that was kind of what it did for me with Daria Devlin.
I would rather lose an election knowing that the margin was your vote and I didn't get it.
Yeah, like I drove past this house that had a Brian Shank sign and a Daria Devlin sign, and I was sort of like, yeah, Daria Devlin.
Well, to be honest, Adam, maybe there's multiple people who live there, and maybe one person there is
maybe, but but like if Brian Shank fans like Daria Devlin, then is she really for me? And I think I know the answer to that. But so you like Leah Tate, you like Zachary Sharif, you maybe like yourself.
I love them both.
Yeah. Oh, I love them both too. Yeah. We've had them both on this show, and they were both delightful, and I've run into them around town since. And
Dr. Tate's going to do some amazing shit.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm really eager, and I love the fact that I've said this before. I'm very eager to vote for young, smart female candidates, because I don't think there's enough of them in.
We push people out. Think about
it. Yeah.
I run for office, and that's why one of the reasons why I announced late, because I know that like if there's people that when you run for office, there's people that just like, oh, I'm not going to run now.
Right.
Yeah. And there's something to that we have to create an environment where more people will. And I'm not the best candidate. I'm not the, I see somebody like I get with somebody like Jasmine and Leotra. I see those two, and I'm like, I'm intimidated.
Yeah.
By
you just kind of want to get out of their way.
Yes, not only do I want to get out of the way, I want to facilitate whatever either of them need, because I feel like both of them will create some amazing change. I'll learn a lot from it, and whatever I can do to support it. at the same time, I feel that there is a place for me in elected office to push forward because I'm policy and
and
not
to blow up your spot or expose motivations that you don't want exposed, but like you and I have had this conversation, and it basically, in at least to some extent, came down to there are this many seats, there are this many candidates running that I can live with getting into this many seats. There are this many other candidates running that we need to make sure don't get into one of these seats. Guess I better take one.
That's really it.
Yeah,
that is it. That is exactly it. From that's local elections.
Yeah,
and that's
that is exactly.
And all politics is local, and all elections start at the local level, and that's the nuts and bolts of the shit. That's the nuts and bolts of it.
And that's the thing, Garrett. So imagine like all the bullshit. Imagine the Jim Wynorskis or all the other bullshit candidates we've had over time, right? That candidates like that suppress the vote, right?
Yes.
When you get somebody like Jasmine, Leotra, Zachariah, when you get people like Tyler who comes through. When Tyler called, oh my gosh, it must have been January, I think, when Tyler called me. When you find out somebody with those skill sets and passions and experiences is going to put forth the effort, it is like, it's amazing because it's like it gives you hope, right? And so I really think that we need to do more and that's the other thing. Like, people were asking me, like, people presumed, I'm not kidding you, Garrett, for at least for 2 years prior to this county executive race, I had people just come up to me and assume I was running for county executive right off the bat. And don't get me wrong, I've thought about it. That would
be the next logical step.
Listen, county government is my bailiwick. I'm a nerd about county. I know the ins and outs of county government. I know I know more about county government than I probably should, right? And I'm passionate about it. But I right now in my life with school, my own education, family, all this other stuff, it wasn't the right time for me. And when Tyler called me, I think end of January, and told me that they were going to run, I was just like, thank you for changing my perspective on the way the future was going to be. Like, when Tyler told me that they were going to run, I was like, I have hope for the first time. And again, I was very cynical. I was so deeply, darkly cynical about the future of Erie until Tyler called me on that. And I was like, wow, I think that I was wrong. I was wrong in my cynicism. And I think we're going to see some amazing things through that. And Tyler hasn't disappointed. I think Tyler has proved that. And so, there's these things that we have to recognize that as cynical as we can be about politics, it's whenever we don't support, even if you're not like 100% behind Tyler, because maybe Tyler's young. Tyler's my age, right? And maybe Tyler's too young or did some brash things in their youth, right? Maybe Tyler was a little bit more forceful, I think, ahead of the game, ahead of things for at least a white person on many issues around racism and discrimination as a policymaker. And maybe you were uncomfortable by that, right?
Maybe it's the knuckle
discomfort.
tats.
Yeah, even in that discomfort or reticence on that, you have to recognize that Tyler's candidacy isn't an image. Tyler's candidacy is about people. And I think that it's the first candidacy we've had in a long time that is transformative, and that the results will be transformative. And I think that you need to vote, and you need to vote for Dr. Titus, and you need to go out and vote for these other candidates like Dr. Tate, and you need to vote for Zachariah, and you have to go and Jasmine, you have to put out these votes, knowing that city council is going to run at a different pace than school board, than county government. They're going to run at a different pace. They're all running at different scales and different timelines. And that's just the way it is. And know that there's some shitbags out there. I got to deal. Jim Wynorski is my councilman now. I got to fucking deal with that. And the dude is, he's a nice, Winarski's like
better than Carl, worse than Carl.
Oh no. So Carl's a piece of shit because he's always been all about himself. When I first got into politics in 2013, so many people told me about him as he was the example of what not to be or do in politics. Okay. And that was years before I even met the guy. And so like he'd always been that way. But you know, Winarski's different. Winarski's like a nice, friendly person like Schember. He's just a total idiot. He's not there. And he'll do whatever good old boys tell him to do. And so in a way is like, he's not purposefully destructive. Winarski is destructive, but not purposefully so, like Breton or Shank or something, right?
Exactly.
Right. It's like incidental to him.
He's generally a nice man that's got good intentions.
But he's just,
not equipped to
he's not equipped at all.
Good intentions.
So
whereas Carl's kind of like the shady bullshitter.
Oh God.
And
shady and bigoted,
and Davis and Shank are just willfully destructive and want,
anybody who's still watching and didn't see it should definitely after we're done should go back and watch our conversation.
I learned
Carl
a lot.
Anderson.
I learned a lot over the primary about some people that I thought I knew, or at least some people I thought, because like there's a lot of Democrats that thought that Anderson was just going to win. Right.
Sure.
Just because name recognition, he was on council already, blah blah blah.
That's the way it works. It's his turn.
That's what they thought. It's his turn. Oh, Garrett, you're so fucking on point. That's what they thought, right?
Yeah.
But I knew right away when Tyler called me in January, but I definitely saw the writing on the wall at the end of March, early April, of how things were going to go, and I was like, wow, holy shit, And here's what's happening now. This is happening now. Anderson was running like he was going to win, like he deserved it. Okay. So is Davis. Davis feels he's already won it. Davis and Anderson. Anderson had a fundraiser and a celebration party the night before the election. Who the fuck does that? I've never heard of that in my life. And I'm still going to shame every single person
who went
to his party. He had a victory party the night before election. I don't know how many people know this. But
I did not
when I found out about it, and I'm going to shame for the rest of their lives, even though I love a lot of them, I'm going to shame every single fucking person. People we respect, all three of us.
Yeah.
I'm going to shame every single person who went to his victory party the night before election because I knew he already lost it at that point.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Anderson ran that, and you could tell he was like, he talked about himself in third person. He kept saying, Carl Anderson is the people's candidate. He's got people's support. He's going to win, et cetera, et cetera. Davis talks the exact same way. Davis is a pathological liar. He sees himself as like this something greater than everybody else.
Keep saying it. I'll just will it to become true.
Tyler, from the get-go, has been running as if they're losing every single bit of the way, afraid that they're losing. And that's what you need in a candidate. Yeah. If a candidate doesn't have that fear that they're behind, and if they instead feel like, oh, as anytime I ever talk to Tyler, I say this. I'm like, listen, I believe you're going to win and win in a larger margin than Dahlkemper. Don't let me change you and your perspectives and running as if you're behind.
Yep.
Because it is that fear of there's something on the line.
Yeah.
There's people's lives. Tyler is running as if Tyler is running as if people's lives are on the line. Anderson wasn't. Davis isn't.
Right.
And that's what tells me a lot about somebody as a candidate. I think that's what we're going to see. I think it's going to pan out. But I think people need to understand that. It's like, who's running based on that there are lives attached to that they're running as if like they're afraid of what could happen if they don't win, because it isn't about them winning. Is it about the human lives they could impact and change and influence for the better, versus those who are like, I've got this. And I really think that Davis, just like Anderson, is falling into that trap of like, oh, I got this. I'm the person. I'm the combat veteran, decorated.
But Jay, he's logged
warrior
50 gazillion miles on his campaign tour. He's up to mile 58,000 or some shit. He keeps a tally on his fucking website, Jay. Come on.
There's no response other than laughing.
I know, right? It's
fucking hilarious, but you're right.
Clown. But yes, Dr. Titus has put in the work. He's playing the game like he's 6 points down and needs a touchdown.
Yeah.
And that's how you
on election day in May.
He's down there. He's at the fucking Strayer strike. He's at the fucking Strayer strike, walking the fucking picket lines with the fucking workers in this community, while fucking Brenton Davis is out taking photo ops with his fucking hard hat on it at his seawall,
driving his big ass truck.
Driving that freaking.
I live really close to him. I didn't realize I lived this fucking close to him. I'm pretty sure people if he's watching this may not know, but I caught on camera 3 guys stealing a Tyler Titus yard sign last night.
Yeah.
At about 12:05 a.m. last night, a little bit after midnight. It's after midnight right now, so I'm wondering if I missed them and they already went and stole my sign. I was gonna go out there and surprise them. I don't know, but one of them looks a lot like this campaign staffer for Davis. But there's 3 guys wearing shorts and baseball caps and
taking selfies.
They took selfies and they recorded stealing my yard sign, my Davis. I had a Tate sign, I had a Campanelli sign, and they made a big deal about. And I don't live that far from Davis. And here's the thing: in my neighborhood, there's not that many young people that age. They're all old as fuck. So I'm gonna tell you, the fact that there's somebody at midnight at young guys walking up my street at midnight. I got to tell you, pretty sure that they work for Davis, and I got extra Tyler signs anyways. And this has got a little bit longer. Myself. So I might miss my jump. I was gonna go jump them. I was gonna go jump them in the middle of the night, but because I'm pretty sure if I walked out right now that they probably went and stole it again. But
well, keep us posted. Yeah, I mean, do you want to go check? I mean, we can talk amongst ourselves if you want to poke your head out.
No, because like if I do, if they did, like you probably wouldn't hear from me again because I'd probably go on a covert mission to go hunt their ass down.
Well, if
get your night goggles out and you look them in the eye.
If they do, rejoin
them in the eye with your night vision goggles and your tactical gear.
The tactical, that's it. Garrett, tactical, that is exactly it.
Yeah,
it's tactical like gear.
Yeah, dude.
Cosplay up,
bro. It's also called Vet Bro.
Yep.
So like like the Vet Bro.
Totally like cosplay some Vet Bro action.
Tactical Vet Bros, man.
Well, I think you should if that's the case, I think you should like call us.
Oh, it's probably got. I got
rejoin on the mobile app, and we'll do a ride along. It'll be super exciting. It'll make for great television.
My thinking was like I should just like hang out in my car. I was like I should just like hang out, ready for it to happen. But
what you gonna do?
Probably too late. But it was like so cheesy because it was like there's young people don't walk up my block at midnight. It just doesn't happen. They must have been like, all right, let's go out there at midnight, guys. This is what we're gonna do. And like, why pick midnight? Like, if you're gonna commit a crime,
Jay Breneman is Erie's working man. He's got to be asleep at this hour.
Yeah,
because
he's up at
3. Honestly, I gotta tell you, I did check at 4:03 first when I checked my security cameras. I did like that was the first time. So it's like I was gonna go check 4:03 a.m. to see if it occurred like when Working Man was like going up.
Happy to pass by in his truck.
4 a.m. But I was surprised. It was like I was like, who commits crime on the hour at such a essential time? Like if you don't take advice from me on committing crimes, but if you're gonna commit a crime, don't do it at like such an essential hour like midnight. Do it at like 2:13 in the morning or something. Don't do it at midnight.
After the rook is closed.
So the moral of the story is go steal Jay Breneman's Tyler Titus sign at 2:13. It's probably already gone, but you can have his Leitra Tate sign and come put it in my yard.
That tells me. Listen, they're like. That campaign is in shambles right now. They're working in fear mode. They're working more on fixing the problems or fixing people like than they are
damage control.
Exactly. Then and stalking and other shit. Then because that's what Davis does best, anyways. But they're focusing on that rather than speaking with voters and convincing them and telling their story, etc., that says a lot, right? That says a lot. And I'm telling you guys, at election day, we may not know that night. I think we'll know pretty well on election night. I think we'll pretty fucking well know. But with mail-in ballots, etc., I think it may be a couple days. But I'm telling you, Tyler's going to do it. Tyler is the right candidate. I think Tyler is the most experienced candidate we've ever had for county executive. I would dare to say since county executive has ever existed, I think that Tyler is the most experienced and the right candidate for this position, for this moment. And I think Tyler's going to outperform Dahlkemper, and I have a respect disrespect perspective on Dahlkemper. I've worked with her firsthand on many consequential things, some things that I was really blown out of the water by her approach, and some things I'm just like, why the fuck did you do this? And so I gotta tell you, I really think that Tyler is like probably the most experienced and best candidate we've ever had. And I don't give a shit what anybody's perspective or feeling is towards Tyler, because I really think most voters will sense and understand. Anybody who's talked with Tyler, Tyler's going to pull this through, and I think it's going to be a really interesting next 4 years under the Tyler's administration. I think it's going to be something else. But in the meantime, we still got to get Tyler. Again, it comes down.
Got a lot of work to do to get across the finish line.
Exactly. It comes down to I may be confident in this, but it doesn't mean a fucking thing if you're not voting, if you're not filling in those ballots, and if you're not convincing people, because it is serious, because my God, people's lives are in the balance. I mean, human being, because county government is not a business. You might be able to pull that shit off with like a township or a borough or something like that. County government's role always has been, and always will be around the safety and well-being of the most vulnerable of our community. And if you are not voting, fuck you. But if you're not voting in this election, you're giving it away. I am telling you, there's nothing more consequential right now than voting for county executive right now. You could skip sheriff. You could skip school board. Don't vote for me. You could skip city council, mayor, all that shit. Skip the judges. There's judicial races right now, which we should be, but I think those are going to go pretty well in our favor anyways.
They will.
Vote for county executive. Vote for Dr. Tyler Titus. I'm telling you, people's lives hang in the balance. And this isn't time to be fucking around with whatever cynicism or feeling you have around politics.
County government's purview are things like the elderly population and nursing homes and such in the county, correct?
Yeah, it's always the most vulnerable. So it comes down to new Americans. It comes down to young people, young teenagers. It comes down. Put it this way, right? So the charge being that, and this is the thing, that if you live in and around a hospital, anywhere in Erie County, Corey, City of Erie, if you live in and around a hospital, your life expectancy is somewhere in the 60s. If you live in any other neighborhood, it's probably up around the 80s. That is the county government's responsibility. It isn't just systemic racism as if it's just sort of happened. That is county policy that created that and continues that. And here's the thing. There's no other person who would run for county executive, even on the Democratic side, other than Tyler Titus, who recognizes that and would seek to change that. Okay, the fact that you can be in and around Hammett, the top hospital in the region, that you could be in Hammett and your life expectancy is 66 years old, specifically if you're Black, and that you could literally walk to Frontier. The life expectancy is 82. It's predominantly white. 66 to 82. Tell me that's not a fucking crime. Okay. And that is specifically, like when Tyler talks about healthcare, all that other stuff, it is the role of county government, because county government's monitoring this. County government is the one that is going out there and monitoring people's life expectancy. They're monitoring how many people are, infectious diseases. They're monitoring, risk taking in life, et cetera, smoking, mental all health. That other stuff. I'm telling you, that is the thing. Like somebody who I didn't even recognize that when I was in county government.
Yeah, I guess
somebody who's coming in office recognizing that.
I guess the point I was making was it's not just there's young people that rely on county government when it comes to things like the community college that Brenton Davis wants to defund and freaking kill in the crib, and then you have nursing, anywhere from community college to help young people invest and get in trades to boost the economy, improve their careers, etc., to nursing homes and taking care of all of our elderly parents, and these are the things that are on the line. These are the things that, Dr. Titus's opponent, Brenton Davis, has vowed to cut and remove. And like I said, specifically when it comes to things like the community college and things of that nature, to just basically, defund. Now, all of a sudden, he's all about, oh, no, I'm for it now. I realize that it's such a, vital part of the community, when he's spent the past year and a half with a freaking circle with a line around the community college logo in his freaking Working Man Mountain. The sign leading into Working Man Mountain has a little circle, red circle with a line through it on the community college. And,
I think voters get that. I think voters get, and that's why I'm confident in Tyler's capabilities.
Exactly.
Because I think Tyler's see the authenticity, and they get that. I think they get that personal, the approach that's there, not the fake shit that comes through. Because there are people that and here's the thing: I want people to understand that in general, people like to treat veterans as a monolith, right? We're not. I mean, just with any other group, we're not. Exactly. I mean, if you were to look at veterans up through the draft, almost all very progressive, very liberal, right? Post-draft, up through the Cold War era, probably the staunchest conservatives Trump era that you could possibly fucking encounter. White supremacist, Persian Gulf, Cold War. If you want a look at white supremacist, misogynist America, look no further than the veteran community in that era. Beyond 9/11 and since then, very diverse. Obama got more donations from military members than John McCain, a POW, and the fact that
a real war hero.
Yeah, and the number of the diversity in the ranks, women and communities of color that are increasing within the ranks. Of course, that's changing things dramatically. But at the same time, it's like, 50. If you were to look as a whole, all veterans, 52% voted for Trump, but so did 54% of women. Right. Mm-hmm. And so we don't talk about women in that aspect of like, oh, you're just a woman, so you're a Trump supporter. Why do we talk about veterans as if like, oh, you're a veteran, you got to be a Trump supporter? It's like, well, women predominantly more likely vote for Trump than veterans as a whole. But when it comes to veterans, it's like when you look at, again, I would never treat women as a whole like that. And right. I just want people to understand that you can't treat veterans that way too, because there are, again, like, you will find veterans that have served that are like, they'll live with Davis's lies and they'll be perfectly fine with it. And they'll do whatever mental gymnastics they need to make a fit. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of, when it comes to the margins, right? I think there's a lot of veterans and people who have had veterans in their family that'll see Davis and be like, I can't vote for this fucking liar and the sham and the stolen valor and all that other shit. And I think in general, a lot of people will see like the passions and reality, of Tyler versus Davis, who's fake as shit and, assaults and harasses people. I think people will see that. And I think that this race will be something else. And I think, again, in a couple of weeks, we'll be talking about what the next administration will look like. And I think that's going to be a moment that I can't even grasp, because I have ideas. I've had policy ideas. I've outlined some policy thoughts, but I can't even imagine the conversations we're going to be having in November right now. But it's not going to come true if you don't fucking vote. Go out there and vote for Dr. Titus.
So get out
again,
there,
don't vote for me. Go vote for Dr. Titus. Skip all the rest of the ballots. I don't give a shit.
But don't skip the rest
vote
of the
for
ballots.
Dr. Titus. Vote for Campanelli for sheriff. vote for Dr. Tate and
Get Jasmine on city council.
Jasmine,
exactly. Down the line.
For city council. All right, vote for
Erie's, and I don't know if it turned out. Lydia Lath is running for county council out in
Edinburgh area.
Lydia Lath out in Edinburgh.
Lydia is fabulous.
Yeah, she's doing some amazing shit, and like as a social worker too, like she's a social worker, I'm a social worker, but like again, somebody I'm intimidated by a lot as far as like, but I gotta tell you, like I think she's doing a tremendous job, and I think she's gonna come close, and I hope she fucking secures the win. If you live in 5th District, Corey, Edinburgh, all that shit, vote for Lydia.
Washington
oh my God,
Township.
Go work for her, give her money or something.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, Lydia won. I mean, Lydia now is township supervisor or whatever in Washington Township, which is like, I mean, Edinburgh proper is, reasonably crunchy, but Washington Township, that's not exactly the liberal hotbed of the Southern Erie County. So, I feel like if she can do well in Washington Township, she can hopefully do well in that district.
She talks to people about solar. She talks to people about things that like they can get, rather than just being like, oh, look at me, I'm a Republican. She goes in there as a Democrat, but she's going in there and explaining and making those connections that we failed to do. And I'll be honest with you, I think the Democratic Party is racist as fuck when we focus on rural white voters. I think we're being racist as fuck, because the future is Black and brown communities, be it rural or community or urban. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to realize that all this other, like the whole, we got to convince this white farmer out in so-and-so to vote for Biden or something. Like, fuck them, right? We need to increase turnout in the Black and brown communities wherever they are, right? Urban or suburban or rural. But at the same time, it's like Lydia's out there like having these conversations with people from different political backgrounds, and she's the one making these connections that people have failed to do for so long. Like, how does this impact your day-to-day life?
And a lot of people on the right are like, oh, America first. And then you have someone like Joe Biden who's like, all right, here's a gigantic infrastructure plan that puts America first. And,
and you're like, no, not like that. It's just
no, not like that though. No, not that
like,
kind of
I just meant the hating black people part.
And tell all the people in the county, that all the brown people are gonna take all, the life that they have.
And that's exactly it. And that's it. You can't convince me otherwise.
Bullshit. It's white supremacist bullshit that has merely been weaponized and mainstreamed into Republican fucking,
What a shame for a party. Isn't that? I mean, guys, seriously.
And I think that's somewhere where the Democrats have dropped the ball in not picking up the mantle of your America First bullshit isn't America First at all. Here is something that will place America in the forefront. Here's the future. Here's,
that's the thing. When I hear Democrats like complain about identity politics, I'm like, man, you're feeding into white supremacy, and you're feeding into Republican talking points.
It's become normalized and mainstream.
You're exactly what you're doing, because I'm telling you, identity politics has been white politics. It's been a white identity politics from the get-go. You can't tell me that there's one. But if you advocate for anything but, Jay, then you are branded as the person playing the race card that's all about identity politics. When and that's what's so crazy.
Identity politics when Democrats are advocating for helping the downtrodden.
And that's just it. Like, if you were to look at any election, especially right now with Davis and Schenck,
absolutely.
Right? If you were to look at any election, every election is identity politics. Lincoln, Washington, all of every, Jefferson, Kennedy, Nixon, Reagan, every single Clinton, every single election even at the local level, is identity politics. Every single identity is inherent in every single election, at every race, and it is predominantly controlled by a white male identity that is predominant. And this is documented, and this is statistically significant, and is something that you can test and verify through scientific instruments of interviews, of surveys, of post-poll voting, pre-poll voting, etc., of white voters. That if you were to poll white voters on who and how they voted for somebody for decades, you would find that white voters vote for people based on white identity politics. That is what white voters do. And so every election, and if you were to look at any election, I'll spell it out for you if you want me to. Show me an election that doesn't have identity politics involved, right? I'll be fucking amazed. I'll prove you wrong. But at the end of the day, white identity politics has been leading politics every bit of the way, every single step of the way. And so when we hear somebody say, "Oh, this is identity politics," what you need to tell them is say, "Fuck you, stop." What you're talking about is politics that is not white male, Christian, cisgender, etc. politics, because that is what has dominated politics.
You just mean
look at every election.
You just mean it's an identity that's not yours.
Exactly, but look at the thoughts of crime, the discussions around crime, education, safety, especially safety, all these things.
Well, like the whole like broken windows.
Exactly, broken windows.
Yeah,
the focus on suburbs, all these other things. It is all specific towards, even think about like school board policy right now about returning kids to schools, right? It is predominantly white suburbanites, middle-class whites who want their kids to, fuck the pandemic, send their kids back to school. It's predominantly black and brown communities that are like, I don't want to risk my kid or my family's life on this. Like I'm talking huge differences. Like white middle class saying send kids back to school. Black around communities that are like, hold on, there's a deadly fucking pandemic we're in the middle of. Can we do some remote learning options? It is a huge gap. They're not even close. That's identity politics.
Oh,
when you have
absolutely.
people running even for school board, that's like, we need to get people back in the classrooms. That's identity politics, because you're focusing on the identity of white middle class people rather than the majority. 86% of like the city school district on real people who's like, fuck this shit. I would put my life at risk.
You won't find a better example of identity politics than all the no CRT signs. If you drive around the county and you see all the random,
I think we need to do it. I haven't seen it. If you have those I want an anti-CRT yard sign. I want pictures of them. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen it personally because I don't go much because of classes and work myself.
I've seen more than a few.
All right, we will gather pictures for you. Drop them into our DMs.
I gotta tell you, even because I barely touch on CRT in grad school, and I definitely incorporate it in my undergrad courses that I teach. But there's room for it. There's room for it in K through 12. There's room for it. When people are like, "Oh, that's a legal thing," no, it's cross-disciplinary. As a matter of fact, I think there's methods and ways and means to incorporate it into kindergarten all the way up through. And I think we need to. Again, like I will debate anybody on that shit any given day on any hour that we need to do it. I'm telling you.
We should get like David Valesky and Luigi DiFrancesco and all the Pencrest school board pieces of shit on the show.
What is going on down there?
Oh, that's a whole conversation for a whole other day. And we got some folks down there. That's definitely something.
They need help.
We need to get Jeff Brooks on the show.
Jeff's a cool guy.
Jeff is a cool guy.
I don't know Jeff.
That's someone we need to look at. That's someone we need to effort into getting on the show here in the future there, Adam.
All right.
Maybe worth it.
I'm down. I am down.
Working man, Jay Breneman.
Tonight. We're here late, as always, talking. I don't know who the fuck's watching this. cool?
Erie Working Man, Jay Breneman, straight from Working Man Mountain,
I am
top of the tower of Working Man Tower.
I'm gonna go trademark that name next.
Yeah,
I'm gonna sue Brenton Davis for fucking infringement.
I love it. Jay, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, anybody who made it through this far, thank you guys. Appreciate it. It's always fun being with you guys.
Always fun having you. We will be back. You're good to be back next week, right, Mr. Skindell?
Next week I may have trouble. The boys got an away game, so I'm going to be on the road to and from Pittsburgh. They have a playoff game in Pittsburgh.
I could be guest host in Garrett's.
Yes. Okay.
That'll be fine.
Let's do that.
Designated hitter. Just call up the DH.
We will. We'll hopefully be back next week because I know we are not going to be here the couple weeks after that because 2 weeks from now is Halloween and we're going to be getting drunk in Garrett's backyard, and then the week after that I'm going to be traveling. So hopefully we'll see you next week and we'll do a show next week. Possibly with Garrett. Possibly with super double secret probation guest host Erie Working Man Jay Breneman. We'll get into some good stuff one way or another. Thank you all for being here. From the top, from the very tippy top of the tower.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Thanks, Jay. We'll talk to you soon. Love you guys. Wash your hands. Take care of yourselves.